everything you need to know about pop culture, media literacy, and the newest friends in technology. We bring them here in Media 101.
Hi everyone! It's Monday again for another segment of our Pop Media 101. Yay! Eh, nung nakaraang movie tayo, which is PK, ngayon, movie date ulit tayo. Saya-saya natin sa movie. Kasi maraming mga gandang movie talaga. So ngayon, ang i-discuss natin ngayon ay ang buhay ni Pope Francis. At ang title nito ay Papa Francisco, The Pope Francis Story. Yun.
An adaptation of the book made by
Elizabeta Piqué. Ang title ng kanyang libro ay Pope Francis, Life and Revolution. So may pinagbasehan pala yung movie. Yes. Ito ay ang childhood ni Pope Francis hanggang sa nahalal siya as Pope. Yes. So ano ba ang gist ng storyang to?
kasi yung gist ng story na to.
Yes.
Yun nga, ito din sinabi mo. Ano siya, parang it tells the story of the younger years of Pope Francis. Kung paano yung journey niya from a teenager na sinuway niya yung yung gusto ng mama niya na maging doktor siya. Nagkaroon siya ng struggles, tapos napunta siya sa clergy.
Yes.
Tapos nahalal siya bilang Bishop ng Argentina. Tapos, yun nga, napunta siya sa conclave. And then, nahalal siya bilang Pope.
Ang haba ng journey niya, no?
Haba yung journey niya.
Tapos in the end, yun din pala, magiging Pope din siya.
Sino nga ba mag-aakala ng isang
Jorge Mario
Bergoglio
Yes.
ay mahalal na Pope Francis? So, kilalanin natin munang mabuti si Pope Francis based sa movie.
Yes, yung treatment ng movie.
Oo, yung treatment ng movie. Ano siya para siyang nagja-jump in siya sa present and past.
Parang flashbacks then
Parang
present, ganon.
Flashbacks and present siya. Parang, doon, si Anna is a journalist which is a close friend ni Pope Francis. It was in the view of Anna,
Yes.
na Spanish journalist na later on naging friend ni Pope Francis. Parang doon nag-start yung film. Tapos, on his way, all throughout the story, parang nandun palagi si Anna sa mga highlights ng buhay niya.
What happened?
Parang naging close sila, no?
Oo, close sila.
Parang after that meeting nila one time, they just coincidentally met each other again.
Sa train.
Yes.
Tapos, ayun, parang doon na nasundan yung yung...
Oy. Ang alam ko ata yung nagsulat ng libro, sa kanya based itong si Anna. Parang siya rin yung inatasan na mag-cover nung conclave sa Italy, sa Vatican. Yun. Tapos, ano yung nakita mong difficulties sa movie?
Oo, parang before pa siya mentor ng seminary, struggle na yun talaga sa kanya. Kasi unang-una, yung mother niya is very against dun sa sa desire niya na maging priest Parang nakita natin sa movie na yung family value na gusto nila ang mangyari sa kanya, maging doktor si Jorge.
Yes.
Pero ang gusto naman ni Jorge taliwas sa gusto ng magulang niya. So parang it's something na value ng magulang mo kung anong gusto mangyari sa'yo and going against your parents.
Yes.
Pero nanindigan pa rin siya kasi yung grandmother naman niya is very supportive naman sa kanya.
Di ba siya nga yung nagbigay nung libro ni Saint Francis of Assisi? Tapos yun yung binasa, tapos dun siya na-inspire.
Sa life and works ni Saint Francis. So, ang dami niyang struggles dun from being, nung nasa loob siya ng seminaryo,
Yes.
diba supposedly yung mga seminarista bawal naman ma-in love sa
Yes.
sa mga babae. Parang natawa nga ako dun sa sinabi niya sa mga friends niya na nag-farewell siya na yung
Wala na siyang mga babaeng makikilala.
Yun. I must admit na na kailangan niya give up yung mga girls.
Oo. Pero buti na lang nandyan sila mga friends niya.
Yun. Tapos na-in love siya. 1 week din yung parang whirlwind romance din yun
Oo.
Pero mas pinili pa rin niya talaga yung vocation.
Maganda yung description niya dun sa babae na dahil sa kagandahan ng babae, 1 week siyang hindi nakapagdasal.
Oo, yun din.
Ang laki ng impact sa kanilang babae.
Tapos, yung isa pang struggle niya doon, nung nasa Argentina siya, ang dami niyang nakalaban in terms of politics.
Yes.
Talagang binangga niya yung yung panahon ng diktatorya sa Argentina. Na parang may mga Jews siyang gustong itakas. May mga Jews siyang tinulungan na itakas sa Argentina para mapalaya. Tapos, meron din yung sa president ng Argentina na parang gusto niya ipatigil yung pag-voice out ni ni Jorge ng mga ng mga korupsyon.
Yes.
Mga ganon, parang pero at the end, nag-insist pa rin si Jorge na hindi siya titigil sa pagsasabi ng mga bagay-bagay against corruption sa kanyang mga sermon. At saka yun din siguro yung nakita ko na isang parang very hesitant siya to take place as a pope after Pope John Paul II. Yung votes kasi talagang nagpakita na mas malaki yung kay Ratzinger na Pope Benedict XVI dati. Kasi nakikita niya na may politika din talaga sa church. Hindi naman may aalis na may politics talaga within the church. Kasi diba, divided yung church into two na progressive and conservative. So parang sa kanya, kung siya man na yung mahalal na pope, paano niya bubuuin o pagtatagpuin yung dalawang clashing or opposing sides na yun? Wow!
Kaya siguro nahirapan din siya na maging pope. Ayaw niya kasi alam niyang may division. Yeah.
Doon matunog na talaga sila nun, di ba? Noong time na yun, after ng death ni Pope John Paul II, matunog na talaga na Ratzinger at saka Bergoglio.
Yes. Si Ana pala, ano ang role niya sa buhay ni Pope Francis?
Siguro si Ana parang unexpected siguro talaga yung yung pagdating, yung pag-meet nila ang dalawa kasi in the first place journalist si Ana, half half Italian siya
Half Italian, half
Spanish. Oo. So, nung nagkaroon siya ng chance na i-cover yung conclave right after ng death ni Pope John Paul II, dun niya na-meet si Father Jorge.
Yes. At yun yung time na may problema siya.
Oo, may dinadala siyang problema.
What happened?
Parang agnostic kasi itong si Ana Parang hindi siya naniniwala na may Diyos.
Yes.
Ganun siya So, nung nag-open up siya kay Father Jorge tungkol sa problema niya, binigyan siya ni Father Jorge ng Antire of the Nuts na Mama Mary Antire Mary Antire of the Nuts. So, nung parang, yung pala ang problema niya is, yung partner niya, gustong ipalaglag yung yes. So, parang doon mismo sa act na yun ni Father Jorge na na sinabi niya na dapat daw dinadasal yung ganong problema. Parang it is an act of conversion na yung simple gesture na yun ni Father Jorge. Na kahit ikaw ganyan ka, hindi ka naniniwala sa Diyos, pero kung magdadasal ka lang, maliliwanagan yung pag-iisip mo with constant prayer.
Sa akin naman siguro ang role ni Ana is siya yung naging mata ng audience sa buhay ni Pope. Kasi 'di ba, yung mga struggles niya nandun siya. Kasi parang sinusundan na rin niya si Pope noon yung titingnan niya kung anong ginagawa ni Pope.
That's right!
Ganon, sinasama-sama siya ni Pope dun sa mga ginagawa niyang misa, ganon. Parang dun niya nakita kung paano labanan ni Padre Jorge yung dictatorship, yung prostitution, yung corruption.
Poverty.
Yun, kaya para sa akin, ang simpleng instrumento lang ni Ana dun sa pagbagsak tsaka paglagon. Kaya nga, di ba, nung second na si Pope Benedict, yung pagbaba niya, ang sabi ni Ana, kapag nanalo ka, gagawin kita libre. Di ba sabi niya? Which is natuloy naman. Yung maganda dun sinishare ni Ana yung life story ni Father Jorge through her books.
Tapos, ano ba yung mga values na nakita natin sa movie?
Values? Si Father Jorge, na talaga siya Parang epitome na talaga siya ng simplicity tsaka ng
Humility.
Kindness.
Kasi makikita naman natin, di ba, nagpunta siya sa Rome noon. Hindi siya nag-reside sa Cardinal's residence sa Vatican. Parang nag-rent pa siya ng apartment, di ba? Tapos makikita mo siya naglalaban ng damit niya.
At saka, di ba, nung time na nakita nga sila sa train ni Ana, nung nandun na sila sa Vatican, dapat magka-taxi silang dalawa. Kaso sabi ni Pope Francis, Ay, hindi na. Mas gusto kong maglakad na lang at gumamit ng public transport. Katulad na ginagawa ni Jesus na naglalakad lang siya para makita niya yung paligid.
Which is naman na dapat, yun naman talagang ginagawa dapat ng lahat.
O dapat nakikita natin yung pang-araw-araw na buhay ng tao.
Oo. Yun siguro sa clergy natin ngayon at present time. Siguro, maganda example talaga si Pope Francis kasi siya, gusto niya, out talaga siya. Hindi yung, oo nga, simbahan. Ginawa yung simbahan para bahay dasalan siya, di ba?
Yes.
Pero ginawa ang church para sa tao. So, dapat yung church, hindi lang hang steady doon Dapat ang church mismo, mag-reach out siya sa labas ng walls ng church. Ayun.
Kaya nga din siya mahilig magmisa sa labas din no?
Yun nilalabas siya talaga yung church. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na nakatayo yung church dyan. Hindi ibig sabihin na stagnant na forever nandyan yung church. Kasi, di ba, ang lagi naman sa ating sinasabi ni Jesus, lagi tayo mag-reach out sa taong mas hindi nakakaangat sa atin.
Yes. Yung mga ganong gestures, simple gestures, katulad na lang din nung naglalabas siya ng sarili niyang damit. Hindi na pinalalabas sa mga katulong dapat. Ayun.
Siya lang mismo talaga ang gumagawa.
Oo.
Saka talagang binibisita niya yung mga slums no?
Yes.
Walang katakot-takot
Yes.
Meron din ako nakita doon, yung siguro maganda example doon, yung parang pinapakita ng Pope Francis ng movie na yung family is a seedbed for religious vocation. Parang doon kasi parang pinakita doon yung relationship, di ba, ng lola niya at na parang yung lola niya sobrang religious na unconsciously hinulma niya si Jorge na ganito. Parang hindi naman siguro hindi persuasive yung pagkakasabi na maging pare ka, pero parang si Jorge mismo naramdaman niya sa sarili niya na ito pala yung mission ko sa buhay. Kasi tayo, di ba, makikita naman natin yan na ako, pinanganak akong ganito. Pero parang may something na mas deep pa kesa sa gusto ko mangyari o sa gusto mangyari ng mga magulang ko. So parang doon, parang pinapakita na as early as that age, parang pinarealize sa kanya na it's a good thing na yung mga kabataan is mag-serve din sa simbahan. Which is hindi niya pinarealize ng lola niya sa kanya. Na parang strong talaga sila ng lola niya.
Doon din siya na-inspire na, di ba ang pangalan niya? Jorge Mario Bergoglio. Nung naging Pope siya, naging Pope Francis siya. Kasi hinalaw niya yon sa libro na binigay ng lola niya, which is Saint Francis of Assisi.
At saka napaka-symbolic yun nung hinalal na siya na di ba, na Pope. Parang nilabas niya yung libro tapos nakaipit dun yung
picture ng lola niya.
Tapos saka niya tinayo doon sa lampstand niya. Tapos tinignan niya. Parang it's a simple way siguro na pagpapasalamat din sa lola niya kasi inopen yung consciousness doon sa religious vocation.
Yes. So, is this movie recommendable?
Very recommendable. Hindi lang siguro sa ano to yung pampamilyang movie kasi ito.
Yes.
Everyone can watch this
Kasi parang history in the making. Ganon. Kasi alam mo, kita mo sa taong to na yung gawain ni Jesus, sinasabuhay niya, na dapat isabuhay din natin.
Concrete example talaga siya ng Bible. Kung ano yung sinasabi sa Bible.
Yes. Ikaw ba? Nakita mo na siya?
Nakita ko siya dati sa Luneta.
Oh my God!
Ayun, Quirino Grandstand.
Sa Quirino Grandstand. Ano talaga yun? Iba talaga yung ano niya, iba yung aura niya.
Yes.
Iba yung ini-exude niyang aura. Parang kahit sa TV mo lang siya makita, parang iba pa rin. May goosebumps ba na effect?
Yes.
Ganun talaga yung naramdaman ko sa niya. Though, maliit lang yung mukha niya, pero ang laki ng ano niya. Ang laki talaga ng ano niya, ng impact niya sa tao. Parang ikaw sa sarili mo, hindi naman siya si Cristo, pero you feel healed.
Yes.
Parang may comfort ka sa loob mo pag nakita mo siya Parang ganun talaga yung effect niya.
Ako rin nakita ko siya dumalat siya sa tapat ng bahay namin. Marami naghihintay na tao kahit umuulan.
At saka ano siya, worth siya kasi parang ano siya gustong ipakita sa atin na hindi naman nagmamatter ang religion talaga.
Yes.
Kung gusto natin magkaisa. Kasi siya, di ba, way back pa sa Argentina, nag-reach out talaga siya. May TV show siya with a Jew.
Yes.
Magkakaroon sila ng religious dialogue. Wow! Yung gano'n, di ba parang...
Ang sabi niya kasi kailangan din natin ma-enlighten sa iba pang religion.
Oo, di ba? Family movie siya, so maganda talaga siyang panoorin at very inspiring.
Yes.
At saka, ang maganda dito sa movie na to, hindi naman siya dragging, di ba?
Hindi. Bitin nga ako
Nagulat ako, sabi ko, may music video na may Cardinal Tagle.
Kumakata pala si Cardinal Tagle.
Ngayon ko lang nalaman, may ganun pala.
Ayun, basta may kita mo na lang na, tapos na pala.
May bitin factor talaga.
Sayang naman.
Sayang. Parang, Maganda yung movie pero nabitin ako. Pero it's really worth our bucks naman.
Yes, oo. So, ayan. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig ng Monday segment namin ng Pop Media 101. So, ulitin po sana ay makinig po ulit kayo. Ako po si Laika.
And Mela po.
Ang next segment po namin ay Isang Di Pa Langit. See you next week. Bye!
Everything you need to know about pop culture, media literacy, and the newest trends in technology. We bring them here in Media 101.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
You are now listening to CFA's longest radio drama series, Isang Di Pa Langit.
Isang Di Pa Langit, Celso Tuba, Part 3.
Celso, naligaw yata tayo ah.
Rico, akala ko ba alam mong bahay ng yung Kuya Danny?
Oo nga. Ito pa nga sa akin ang address at direksyon kung paano yun matutuntun eh. Pero ayon doon sa pinagtanungan natin, walang nakatirang Danny ron ah.
Sige, maglakad pa tayo sa bandar.
Oli ka.
Hoy,
Ba?
kayo. Anong ginagawa niyo rito?
Celso, mga lasing yan ah. Baka makursunadahan pa tayo. Ha?
Bakit kayo rito?
Naku,
Huwag tayo lumapit, Rico. Mukhang mga ko eh.
tumakbo na tayo. Gulpe nga abutin natin dito.
Isang Dipa Langit.
Sa karaniwang nilalang, ang tanging pangarap ay makalayo sa gubat ng kadiliman at makarating sa pugad ng liwanag at pag-asa.
Isang Dipa Langit.
Malayo sa pangamba, singlapit ng hininga, katatagpuan ng kapayapaan ng isip, kung saan naroon ang mga pusong nagmamahal, mga palad na nakalaan, handang umalalay, maging gabay, makibahagi sa pasanin ng kalooban.
Isang Dipa Langit.
Isang Dipa Langit. Pagsasadula ng mga tunay na karanasan. Handog sa inyo ng Communication Foundation for Asia. Isang Dipa Langit.
Mga kaibigan, naito po ngayon ang mga pangunahing tauhan ng ating isa sa dulang kasaysayan. Kuya Froy.
Thank you very much. Kumusta po sila? Sa araw na ito mga kaibigan, ng ikatlo at huling kabanata sa magandang kasaysayang nilalahad mismo ni Celso Tuba, ipagpapatuloy po natin. At ngayon mga kaibigan, naito na po ang pangwakas ng kabanata sa magandang kasaysayang ito na inilalahad dito sa Isang Dipa Langit.
Natutunan din namin ang bahay ng kuya ni Rico. Ito pala ay nasa isang compound na ari ng pinaglilingkuran nitong Inchik. Hindi ako nag-aksaya ng panahon. Nang malaman ko ang opisina ng National Commission Concerning Disabled Persons, ay nagpunta agad ako rito.
Ikaw ba si Celso Tuba?
Ako nga po, ma'am.
May asawa?
Wala po.
Taga-Talisay ka?
Opo, sa Cagayan de Oro po.
Ayon din dito sa biodata mo ay tapos ka ng stenotyping.
Opo, may konting experience na rin po ako.
Speed typing 50%, steno 90%.
Tama po yan, ma'am. Bigyan niyo lamang ako ng pagkakataon, ay may papakita ko pang kakayahan ko.
Sige, iwanan mo na ito.
Pero akala ko po
Susulatan ka na lamang namin.
Kailan po?
Kung may maibibigay na kaming trabaho sa'yo. Pero sa ngayon wala pa.
Ma'am. Ma'am, talaga pong kailangan ko ng trabaho.
Huwag kang mag-alala. Bibigyan namin ng priority ang application mo.
Rico, hindi ko malaman kung paano ko ito sasabihin sa inyo ni Celso.
Ano yun, kuya?
Kinausap ako ng amo kong check.
Tungkol saan, kuya?
Ayaw niyang manirahan kayo dito.
Ha? Pinaalis na kami?
Sinabi ko sa kanya na kapatid kita. At siya naman ay kamag-anak natin. Pero talagang ayaw pumayag Ayaw daw niya may ibang mga tao dito liban sa mga nagtatrabaho sa kanya.
Pero kuya, paano kami ni Celso? Saan kami titira?
Yan nga ang dahilan kaya hindi ko masabi-sabi sa inyo yung bagay na ito
Kuya, hanggang kailan ang ibinibigay sa amin taning?
Sa lalong madaling panahon daw. Paano tayo rito?
Celso, pinaalis daw tayo ng incheck
Narinig ko. Naramdam ko. Celso, Rico. Wala akong magagawa kundi magbigay na lamang sa inyo ng tulong. Ito, tanggapin niyo ito. Maghanap kayo kahit maliit na silid.
Salamat, kuya. Celso?
Wala tayong magagawa. Siya nga pala, kung wala na kayong pera, pumunta kayo sa akin. Tutulungan ko kayo sa abot ng aking makakaya. Kasalanan ko, Rico. Pati ikaw, nadamay sa kamalasan ko.
Hindi. Celso, wag mo sisihin ang sarili mo.
Talagang malas ako, Rico. Malas ako. Naghanap kami ni Rico ng mauupahan, kahit maliit na silid. Pero wala kaming makita. Kung mayroon man, ay napakamamahal. Hanggang inabot kami ng hating gabi sa daan.
Celso? Dito na tayo matulog. Naantok na ako, tsaka ayos na dito.
Rico, pwede kayang matulog dito?
Bakit hindi? Parke ito. Di ba't doon sa atin ang daming natutulog sa parke?
Iba sa atin Dito hindi natin alam kung anong kanilang batas na pinag-iyan.
Pareho din yung sa atin. Halika na, tulog na tayo.
Paano bukas?
Hindi maghanap ulit tayo ng maliit na silid na mauupahan.
Buti kaya, Rico. Uwi na tayo sa probinsya.
Umuwi? O saan tayo kukuha ng pamasahe?
Kapalan na natin ang mukha natin. Lumapit tayo sa kapatid mo.
Uwi na tayo. Di wala rin nangyari sa lakad natin.
Bakit? May pag-asa ka pa bang may mangyayari? Malabo, Rico. Malabo.
Tama na, mabuti pa matulog na tayo, Celso. Antok na ako bukas na natin pag-usapan ang bagay na yan.
Isang Dipa, Langit. We'll be back after this short break.
Hi! Kami ang Pabebe Girls at wala kayong pake kung nakikinig kami ng ng CFA Sanctuner. Anyway.
Quotes to
Brighten
your
day!
A quote from Mahatma Gandhi. When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time, they can seem invisible. But in the end, they have always fall. Think of it, always. Hindi sa taas ng edukasyon na susukat ang pagkatao. Mababa man ang pinag-aralan mo, kung marunong kang rumispeto, daig mo pa ang edukado.
You're listening to CFA Sanctuner.
And now we're back to Isang Dipa Langit.
Ay, gising. Gising kayong dalawa.
Pulis? Saso?
Bakit sino
Saso,
ka
gising.
lang?
Chief?
Bakit? Pulis?
Pulis nga ako. Sumama kayo sa akin sa impilan.
Bakit Wala naman kami ginagawa masama.
Bawal matulog dito sa luneta.
Mamang pulis, hindi ho namin alam.
Huwag ka ninyo akong lukuhin. Sedula ninyo. Labas nyo.
Sedula?
Sedula.
Wala ko kami sedula eh.
Kita mo, walang sedula.
Mamang pulis, galing po kami sa lalawigan. Wala po kaming matuluyan, kaya dito po kami
Tama
napadpad
na
sa parking.
yan. Matanda ng tugtugin yan.
Hindi po,
Hala, sige.
oo naman,
Hala sa impilan. Ayun na.
Salamat at dumating ka.
Pinuntahan ako ng pulis na pinakausapan ninyo.
Kuya, magmumulta raw kami. Pero kapos na ang pera namin na ibinigay mo eh.
Ako nang bahala. Umalay ko sa amo ko eh.
Ha? Celso, narinig mo. Makakalaya na tayo.
Oo. At paglabas natin dito, uuwi na tayo sa atin. Yan talagang sasabihin ko sa inyo. Mabuti pang umuwi na kayo sa atin. Baka kung ano pang malubhang kapahamakan ng sapitin nyo dito sa Maynila.
Kuya, hindi ako sangayon dyan.
Rico, tama ang sabi ng kuya mo. Pag nagtagal pa tayo dito, baka may malubha pang mangyari sa atin.
Sige. Pero paano tayo makakauwi? Saan tayo kukuha ng pamasahe? Kuya?
Gusto ko sana kayong tulungan pero baka mahirapan na akong makakuha ng pera sa Inchik eh. Nakakuha na ako at binayad ko nga sa multa ninyo.
Yan nga iniisip ko eh. Kaya paano kami makakauwi nito?
Teka.
Ha?
Tama. Alam ko na.
Bakit?
Magpunta kayo sa Operation Tulong. Idaing din nyo sa kanilang inyong problema.
Operation Tulong? Yung sa DCRH? Ano yun?
Rico, parang narinig
Oo
ko
nga.
nga yun sa radyo.
Narinig ko rin eh.
Alam naman pala ni Celso eh. Tama nga. Sa DZRH Operation Tulong kayo dumulog. Natitiyak kong matutulungan nila kayo. Hindi kami nag-aksaya ng panahon ni Rico. Nagpunta kami sa DCRH sa Navotas.
Sino pa sa inyong dalawang may problema?
Kami yung dalawa, ma'am.
Kayong dalawa?
Oo, ma'am. Kasi gusto na naming makauwi sa aming probinsya. Pero ang problema po, wala ho kaming pamasahe.
Sa makatuwid, ang hinihingi ninyo ay pamasahe.
Oo, ma'am. Kahit po pase sa vapor para makauwi lang kami.
Bueno, hayaan ninyo. Titingnan ko kung anong magagawa ng opisinang ito sa bagay na yan, ha?
Ma'am, kailan ho kaya namin maasahan ng pases?
Magbalik kayo sa isang linggo.
Sa isang linggo?
Oo.
Ma'am, pero napakatagal naman ho yata.
Madali lang yung 1 linggo.
Kasi ma'am, wala kaming tinutuluyan dito sa Maynila.
Wala. O, saan ka natutulog?
Ma'am, kahapon sa parke kami natulog. Hinuli nga ho kami ng pulis eh. Kalalabas lang namin kanina. Kaya dito na ho kami nagtuloy.
Tungkol sa matutulugan, hindi problema yan.
Totoo ho, ma'am.
Sa mini-klinika ng Operation Tulong. Pansamantala, habang hinihintay ninyo ang passes, di doon na muna kayo tumira.
Senso? Nagugutom na ako.
Man kanina pa kumakalaman siguro ako.
Ito ngayon ang problema. May natutulugan nga tayo pero wala naman tayong pambili ng kakainin.
Wala tayong magagawa. Kundi pakiusap na rin bigyan tayo kahit anong makakain.
Senso, nakakahiya na yata yun.
Talagang nakakahiya. Pero kailangan kapalan na natin ang mukha natin.
Ikaw na magsabi.
Ako? Rico, wala yata akong lakas ng loob.
Ako rin, nahihiya ako eh. Paano niya? Pareho tayo maninigas sa gutom.
Rico, dumarating yung babae na nag-interview sa atin.
Okay.
O ano? Kumusta ba kayong dalawa dito?
Ma'am. Masama ho eh.
Anong masama?
Nakakahiya akong sabihin.
Palagay ko'y alam ko na. Hindi pa kayo kumakain, ano?
Ma'am, nakakahiya ho pero totoo ho yun.
Hindi bale. Pabibigyan ko kayo ng pagkain dito.
Salamat ho.
Salamat ho. Senso, kay buti pala nila rito sa DCRH Operation Tulong, no?
Siyempre, Operation Tulong.
Mas lalong mabuti. Matulungan na nila tayo makauwi sa atin eh.
Conforme ka na rin, Rico?
Oo, Senso. Alam mo, hindi nga yata tayo para dito sa Maynila eh. Magsikap na lang tayo sa atin kahit magtanim.
Isang linggo na kaming mahigit sa Navotas ay hindi pa dumarating ang hinihintay naming passes sa barko. Lalo akong nabahala na magkasakit si Rico.
Wala nga naman ito, Senso.
Init-init na eh. Pupuntahan ko kuya mo.
Lakas ng loob mo. May pera ka ba?
Wala.
Uy, paano ka makakapunta dun? Sasakay ka sa balat naman eh.
Ikaw talagang tao ka, oo. May sakit ka na, nakukuha mo pang magbiro.
Kung di natin kukunin sa tao itong kalagayan natin, lalo tayo magmumukhang kawawa.
Ano diba? Mawawala? Teka, hingi nga pala ako ng gamot sa lagnat.
Senso, masyadong mo ko inaalala eh. Wala akong sakit. Magaan ang katawan ko eh.
Rico, may sakit ka. Paano kung lumala ang sakit mo?
Bahala na.
Siyempre. Ano pa magagawa natin kundi bahala na?
Ano, Senso? Sa'yo ko nahihiya.
Sa akin ka nahihiya? Bakit?
Paano? Ako yumaya sa'yo dito eh.
Hindi mo alam, Rico. Pinasasalamatan ko yun.
Pinasasalamatan?
Oo. Sapagkat dahil doon, ay muli akong nabuhayan ng loob. Muli akong nakakita ng isang pag-asa.
Nabigo tayo. Ano pang pag-asa sinasabi mo?
Rico, sa ating paglilibot, ay marami akong nakitang may mga kapansanan. Ngunit nagsisikap sila sa buhay. May tinatanaw sila at may inaasahan.
Ses, mabuti naman at namulat ka.
Oo, Rico. Kaya nabigo man tayo, ay hindi na ako masisiraan ng loob.
Celso, eto, okay na pakiramdam ko. Pwede na ulit tayo maglakad-lakad para maghanap ng trabaho, ha?
Trabaho?
Oo.
Akala ko ba, Rico, desidido ka nang umuwi?
Kung makakakita tayo ng trabaho dito, bakit pa tayo uuwi? Di ba?
Ako, ayoko na.
Ayaw mo na. Akala ko ba buo na ang loob mo?
Oo. Ngunit, ayoko na dito sa Maynila. Totoong sabi mo noon na hindi tayo ukol para dito.
Nalakas mo ang loob ko, kaya kinalimutan ko na yun eh.
Hindi kita kinakaya, Rico. Basta ako, maghihintay na lamang ng passes na ibibigay ng DCRH Operation Tulong para makabalik sa atin.
Kung ganyan ang pasyon mo, kasama mo na rin akong uuwi.
Sa atin na ako mag-iisip kung saan ako maaaring magkaroon ng pakinabang.
Okay ka na ngayon, Celso, ha?
Nabigo tayo sa pagparito. Pero nabago ang prinsipyo ko sa buhay. Kaya ayos na rin, Rico.
Celso? Rico?
Si Mrs.
Mrs., ano ho bang balita tungkol sa passes na?
Yun na nga sadya ko rito sa inyong dalawa eh.
Ma'am, makakaalis na ho kami?
Oo. Nangako na ang kumpanya ng barko na bibigyan kayo ng passes para makauwi na sa inyo sa Cagayan de Oro.
Yan po nagwawakas mga kaibigan, ang pagkatanghal sa magandang kasaysayang ito ng buhay na inilahad mismo ni Celso Tuba. Muli namin kayong tinitipan para sa isa pang magandang kasaysayang ilalahad dito sa Isang Dipa, Langit. Na ito po naman ang mga bituin ng radyo na siyang nagbigay buhay sa ating kasaysayan. Isang Dipa, Langit. Sumasa inyong pakikinig sa ganitong oras at himpilan. Ito po naman ay sa pakikipagtulungan ng Communication Foundation for Asia at ng himpilang DZRH. Isang Dipa, Langit.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
Continue to make your day stronger by taking a capsule of your daily gospel.
The Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" He said in reply, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." He replied to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn and cared for him. The next day, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, 'Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back. Which of these three, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim? He answered, the one who treated him with mercy. Jesus said to him, go and do likewise. Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Phil Pelengon, MSc.
Well, today is the 5th of October, and the Gospel reading of today tells us about a scholar of the law who approached Jesus asking him, what must I do to enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus' reply was, of course, to tell him, have you observed the law? And of course he said that, yes, Lord, I have observed the law. And so Jesus illustrated how the observance of the law is not just in terms of knowing the law, but to apply it now. And so he told him a story or a parable, so to say, a story that is applicable to any one of us. This is a story about the Samaritan who, of course, fell on the road because he was attacked. The story goes this way, that this man was on the way to Jericho. And so while on the way, and the way was not always that safe. It was a lonely road, most probably. And while walking, he was attacked by robbers. And the robbers not only attacked him by taking away from him what he has, but as well as sort of injured him. So the story says that he was left half dead. So he laid on the road, and people passed by. Two people who were so important, the Jewish people were so important. One was a priest, one was a Levi. And these people who have important functions, And what did they do? Instead of looking at the man who was lying half dead on the road, he did just pass by the other side. But you see, what happened was this. There's another man who was not a Jew. Apparently, the one who fell on the road and was robbed by robbers and was left half dead, perhaps he was a Jew. And so there is this man who was not a Jew himself, while his brother Jews who were prominent people in the community passed by in the other side. This man looked at him, and looking at him as needing help. So what did he do? He took the man aside, and not only took the man, but he applied some kind of medicines, oil, and perhaps also wine, so that to treat the wounds of this man. He did more than that. He took the man on his donkey, and he rode with the man. They put the man on his donkey and went off. And then on the next stop, that is an inn, he stopped by there, and then he instructed the innkeeper. He said, I will leave this man and I proceed on my way. Take care of him, and if you spend anything on this man, on my way back, I will refund it. And so he asked this fellow who was asking him, what must I do to enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus said, you must take care of your neighbor, or love your neighbor. That is, love God above all and your neighbor as yourself. And so the question of the man, who is my neighbor? So this story was really applied to that, answering that question, who is my neighbor? The neighbor is not only the person you know, the neighbor is not only the person you would like, whom you like, but the neighbor is sometimes person you never like. So what Jesus was trying to tell him, that here is a man who was not a Jew, and here's another man who was a Jew who fell on the road. And this Samaritan man took care of him. The relationship between the two were not good at the time. The Samaritans were hated by the Jews. And yet, this man who was a Samaritan, when he saw this Jew needing help, took care of him. While the fellow Jews, just left him half dead on the road. So the question is, who is my neighbor? And so this is the answer of Jesus to the question of man, who is my neighbor? Perhaps in our own reflection, who is my neighbor? The Pope is telling us who our neighbors are. These are the people who are despised. These are the people who live in the fringes of society. These are what they call the people we do not like so much. And the Pope shows this. In his trip to the United States, the Pope visited the people or the children in a certain area where people would not easily visit. These are what you call the people in the peripheries. We see that in our own community. People we do not like. People who are with some sort of hate because of their certain characters, certain characteristics. And yet the parable that Jesus told this man, it shows us that what we should be doing is to love our neighbor. And to love our neighbor doesn't mean there's only those people we like or those people who are pleasing to us. Even those people we do not like. Like in this case, the Samaritan is hated by the Jews, as well as the Samaritans don't like the Jews. And yet, in this story, the Samaritan man took care of that man, the Jew, who was left by the robbers half dead on the road. Took care of him. So perhaps this is also our own attitude towards people we do not like so much. Let us not limit our attention to whom we call neighbors in the people who we like or people who are close to us, perhaps our relatives and friends. But those people who are not pleasing to us. Our duty as Christians, and our duty as Christians, as the Pope is trying to do, is to build bridges and to break the walls of hatred, as what this Samaritan man did to the Jewish who was left half dead by the robbers, as well as the Jew who did not like the Samaritan. In other words, the relationship was built up. In other words, a bridge was built in the sense that relationship was developed between the two. And so this is what we mean, who is my neighbor? My neighbor perhaps is the person the society dislikes. My neighbor must be those people who perhaps the society would put aside. You know, we are this here in the Philippines, the beggars, the street children. We do not like them because they're dirty. We do not like them because they are poor. We do not like them because perhaps, they're not pleasing to us. So we only consider our neighbors as our friends, people who are close to us, people who can give us, if we give them anything, give us something in return. But perhaps that our Lord says that perhaps we have to treat everyone, especially those in need, with special treatment like what the Samaritan man did to the Jews. So I think this is the lesson we should learn from the Gospel of the day. This is Father Phil of the Missionaries of Sacred Heart. I'm sharing you these reflections of mine taken from the Gospel of today. So I hope that this will lead us in our own attitude towards one another to consider everyone as neighbor, regardless of who they are, to build bridges and break walls of hatred. God bless.
This has been your daily gospel, your capsule of inspiration, hope, and faith. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you grow as a person by listening to us. Just remember that everywhere you go, your worst day with God is better than your best day without Him. This has been Sam Tuner, Communication Foundation for Asia's official podcast. We hope and pray that you tune in with us the next day. Once more, this is CFA Sam Tuner, your Tunecasting Psalmist. To listen and reflect about life, anything to feed your mind and soul with reflective gospel readings, radio drama series, and segments that discusses something from everything to fill your Mondays to Fridays. Then you have come to the right place. This is CFA Sanctuary, your Tunecasting Psalmist. are now listening to CFA's longest radio drama series, Isang Dipa, Langit.
Isang Dipa Langit, Konsolasyon Tumalad, Part 1.
Hindi ba kayo titigil? Ha? Ah! Ha? Ah!
Ano nangyayari dito, ha?
Eh, ang patay gutom mong anak. Walang ginawa kundi humingi ng pagkain.
Ano? Walang hiya ka talaga, Alfonso!
Hoy! Mag-iingat ka ng pagsasalita mo, ha? Baka samayin ka sa akin.
Hayop ka! Nasa si Christina! Christina!
Inay! Naku, narito na po pala.
Ano? Nakakuha ka na ba ng bigas?
Christina, bakit mo naman pinabayaang gulpihin na naman itong Judas sa mga kapatid mo? Ha?
Judas pala, ha?
Ay! Walang hiya ka! Ang kapal ng mukha mo! Puro perwisyo na nga ang dala mo, nabubugbog ka pa!
Batang walang yan ito, ha? Ah! Hoy! Kanina ka! Pag hindi ka talaga natuto, hindi lamang ganyan ang aabutin mo sa akin. Ha?
Isang dipa lang.
Sa karaniwang nilalang, ang tanging pangarap ay makalayo sa gubat ng kadiliman at makarating sa pugad ng liwanag at pag-asa. Isang dipa, langit, malayo sa pangamba, singlapit ng hininga, katatagpuan ng kapayapaan ng isip, kung saan naroon ang mga pusong nagmamahal, mga palad na nakalaan, handang umalalay, maging gabay, makibahagi sa pasanin ng kalooban.
Isang dipa langit.
Isang dipa, langit. Pagsasadula ng mga tunay na karanasan at sa mga karaniwang taong nagsisikap na mahango ang sarili sa kahirapan ng buhay. Isang dipa, langit. Mga kaibigan, narito po ngayon ang pangunahing tauhan ng ating pagtatanghal sa araw na ito, si Julie Fan Navarro.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Greg Arnaldo. Kumusta na kayo mga kaibigan? Magandang hapon ho. Kumusta na ang panahon dyan sa inyo? Dito sa amin, as usual, tulad ng madalas kong sabihin, dito sa loob ng studio ay laging laganap ang sikat ng, hindi ng araw, kundi ang sikat ng bumbilya. Narito na ngayon ang ating bisita, unang bahagi ng kanyang kasaysayan, si Konsolasyon Tumalad, dito pa rin sa ating dula, Isang Dipa.
Laki po akong Maynila at dito na rin nakapag-asawa. Subalit, bukod po sa batugan, ay puro pa po bisyo ang lalaking natagpuan ko. Madalas pa po, puro bugbog ang katawang ko. 7 pong lahat ang naging anak namin na halos ho ako ang nagtaguyod. Hindi ho siya napirmi ng trabaho bilang pintor at kung makapagtrabaho naman, kulang pa sa kanya ang kanyang kinikita. Kaya naman po, madalas akong pakiusapan ng aking mga magulang at mga kamag-anak na hiwalayan na ang aking asawa.
Ako, sinasabi ko naman sa'yo, hiwalayan mo na yan si Alfonso. Ang tiyaga mo. Eh, wala ka namang napapala sa kanya.
Hindi ko nga lamang ho inaalala mga bata noon pa sana.
Yan ang hirap dyan sa batugan mong asawa. Masipag gumawa ng anak, gayong napakatamad namang maghanap buhay.
Umaasa pa naman ho akong magbabago si Alfonso.
Ano ka mo? Si Alfonso? Magbabago? Aba, baka nilagnat na rin ang utak mo sa kabubugbog ng asawa mo. At kung may pagbabago pang mangyayari dyan sa asawa mo, abay, noon pa sana. Noon pa.
Inay, pwede ho ba? pabayaan na muna ninyo kami. Nakakaraos naman kami kahit papaano.
Ano pa nga bang magagawa natin? Kahit naman anong paalala namin sa'yo, hindi ka nakikinig. Ay, mabuti pa ngang bahala na kayo sa buhay nyo.
Inay, kung mamamasukan na rin ho kaya ako, para naman may katuwang kayo sa paghahanap buhay. Ay nako, at sino naman ang inaasahan mong titingin sa mga kapatid mo kapag wala ako? Alam mo namang konting kibot ng gugulpi ang ano. Kahit naman ho narito ako, ginugulpi pa rin sila Mabutit ginugulpi lamang. Ang inaalala ko, baka datnan ko na lamang dilat ang mga kapatid mo sa gutom at sa sakit sa katawan. Inay, kung ihabilin mo natin kina Lola. Ay naku anak, akala mo lang ganun lang kadali ang mga sinasabi mo. Ang hindi mo lamang naiisip, malamang na hindi pagmumulan pa yan ng mas malaking gulo. Bakit naman ho? Hindi ba tiyang ama ninyo sinusuka pa rin hanggang ngayon ng lola ninyo? Kaya pag inihabilin ko kayo ron, tiyak na hindi tayo pababalikin at sapat yan para magwala ang tatay ninyo.
Konsuling, pahiram nga muna ng pampaugaw.
Ugayin mo, lelang mo.
Konsuling naman. Nahihiya lamang ako kina kumparing Nestor. Hinihintay nila ako kina Mang Enyong. Alam mo namang, alam ko na sweldo mo ngayon. Kaya umihiram.
Kung sabihin ko sa'yong walang natira sa sweldo ko, kaya wala akong maibibigay sa'yo. Abay, puro nga nabali na nga ako ng bali.
Ganon kung ipinadadapo ko naman kaya sa'yo itong kamao ko, ha?
Ganon. Nanakot ka na naman. Hoy, hindi mo na ako masisindak niyan, ha? Dahil nang mapangasawa kita, itinuring ko na ring asawa yung kamao mo. Yan lang naman ang ipinagmamalaki mo
Gusto mo lang talagang sakit ng katawan, ha? Ganon ito sa'yo.
Aray ko!
Ayaw mo nang matinang usapan talaga.
Walang aray ko!
Bagay sa'yo!
Ayaw ka talaga! Demonyo ka! Walang
Demonyo kung demonyo!
Isang Dipa, Langit. We'll be back after this short break.
Hi! Kami ang Pabebe Girls at wala kayong pake kung nakikinig kami ng CFA Sang Tuner. Anyway.
Quotes to brighten your day! A quote from Maya Angelou. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats, so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, and how you can still come out of it. Marami ka mang hiniling sa Diyos na hindi niya ibinigay, mas marami naman siyang binigay na hindi mo hiniling.
Yeah! You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
And now we're back to Isang Dipa, Langit.
Nakakuha rin ng pera si Alfonso matapos ang pangyayaring yun. Halos wala na namang natira sa sinahod ko sa patahian. Akala ko nung una ay ang asawa ko lamang ang poproblemahin. Pero mayroon pa palang iba.
Paano na naman ba mga pasanang nanay?
Nagtanong ka pa, di binugbog ng tatay.
Alam mo ate, nagsasawa na ako sa buhay natin Biruin mo naman, paano tayo magsisikap? Kung yung magulang mo nga, wala kang mapala.
Magtigil ka nga niyang sinasabi mo
paano nga ang pagsisikap ng nanay? Alam mo naman mulat sa pulpa eh.
Lagi na lang silang nag-aaway, ganun ba? At nagpapakamartirang nanay.
Hindi sa ganon. Hindi ba't si inay lamang ang puspusan tumataguyod sa atin? Alang-alang man lamang sa inay.
Wala naman akong hinanakit kay inay eh. Kaya lang, kung tayong inaalala niya, sana, noon pa niya hiniwalayan si tatay.
Aba, Rogelio, nakakalimutan mo na yatang tatay natin ang lalayasan natin kapag nagkataon.
Ate, pwede ba? Tama na yung isang martir sa bahay na ito.
Tumigil ka, Rogelio. Ako na makakalaban mo.
Kontento ka na ba sa buhay na ito? Ako hindi.
Ano ba bang gusto mo mangyari? Hindi ka ba nakakaintindi?
Gusto kong mag-aral, ate. Kaso walang pera. Gusto kong magtrabaho. Guguluhin naman ako ng tatay. Kaya gusto kong lumayo. Pero paano naman kayo?
Magsitigil na kayo.
Nay.
Ngayon, anong gusto ninyong mangyari?
Inay, kanina pa po ba kayo dyan?
Nay, naawa na ho kami sa inyo. Mula pa nung bata pa kami, nakita na namin kung paano kayo pinahihirapan ng tatay. Kaya total po, malalaki na kami. Saka gusto naming makatulong ng lubos sa inyo, sa atin.
Kaya gusto na ninyong maghiwalay na kami ng tatay nyo. Ganun ba?
Nay, may mga kapatid pa po kami. Ayaw po naming matulad sila sa amin ng ate. May mga ambisyong hindi may sa katuparan. Magtulungan po tayo, Nay. Hindi pa huli ang lahat.
Inaakala lamang ninyo na ganun lamang kadali ang inyong iniisip. Pero ang totoo niyan, napakahirap. Ang unang-unang balakid ay ang ama nyo. At kung sakasakali namang pumayag yan, nakakasiguro ba tayong titigilan na tayo niyan? Naku, kilala kong tatay ninyo.
Pero inay...
Wala nang pero-pero. Mas magulo yung iniisip ninyo eh. Bakit ba mas gusto ninyo ang sirang tahanan? Bakit itinatakwil ninyo ang sarili ninyong ama? Kahit anuman siya, ama pa rin ninyo siya. Isang mag-anak tayo at namumuhay ng sama-sama sa isang bubong. Naiintindihan ba ninyo ako? Ha? Labis akong nalungkot sa mga narinig ko sa aking mga anak na maging sila ay naghahangad ng paghihiwalay naming mag-asawa. Gayong sila ang tangi kong inaalala kung kaya hindi ako nakipaghiwalay kay Alfonso noong maliliit pa sila. Samantala, nagtampo si Rogelio mula noon at nalulong sa barkada.
Naku, inay! Ano nangyari kay Rogelio? Bakit puro pasa at putikan?
Ayan, nagwala. At napaaway doon sa may tindahan ni Aling Atang sa kanto. Ay, nakatuwaan yung isa kaya nagkaroon ng banatan.
Ano? Mabuti naman ho at nadaanan ninyo. Bakit naman ho nagwala?
Ay, nako, nagulat nga ako eh. Akala ko kung sino yung nag-aaway, yung pala yung batang yan.
Mukhang lumalala ang kapatid kong yan, inay.
Palagay ko nga, anak. Ako, dagdag na kalbaryo na naman sa akin ang kapatid mong yan, oo. Parang nagmana pa sa ama mo sa bisyo.
Lasing nga ho pala, inay
ganun na nga. Isipin na lang, napakabata pa niya. Ay naku, huwag naman sanang maulit.
Inay, may sasabihin pa nga ho pala ako sa inyo. Matagal ko nang gustong sabihin ito sa inyo eh.
Ano yun?
Sumasama na nga ho pala si Rogelio sa tropa ni na Dodong si Kwat. Kaya ho pala palagi siya may pera ngayon eh.
Ano? Kailan pa?
Siguro mag-iisang buwan na.
Uy, bakit ngayon mo lamang sinabi sa akin?
Paano? Tinatakot ho kasi niya ako na lalong hindi siya uuwi kapag isinumbog ko siya sa inyo eh.
Nako, Christina, dyan mo dapat pairali ng pagiging matanda mong kapatid. Hindi mo dapat kinukonsinti ang ganyang kalokohan.
Kaya nga ako sinabi ko na sa inyo eh.
timbong na ito?
Sino pa? Hindi yung magaling mong anak.
Si Ben si Rogelio? Oo nga, no? Ba't ganyan na itsura niya?
Napaaway dyan sa may kanto. Paano lasing?
Ano? Ang ibig mong sabihin, umiinom ng damuhong ito. Kaya pala. Kaya pinagtitinginan ako sa may labasan. Paglabas ko kanina.
Eh ako naman kanina, kasalukuyang nagdadaan.
Sensado na, ano ha?
Ay,
Gising!
ako. Alfonso, wag
Gising!
muna
Hoy!
nang mahimasmasan.
Ano bang wag? Sige, Christina. Kumuha ka ng santimbang tubig. Dali!
Ano? Opo, kukuha na po. Alfonso, ano ka ba? Sinabi ko nang bayaan mo na muna eh.
Kailangang bigyan ng leksyon ng ambisyoso niyan. Anong klase kang ina? Kinukonsinti mo sa kalukuhan ng anak mo?
Ito na po.
Akin na.
Ito na po, tubig itay.
Sabi ko na dito. Ikaw ba sa gulero ka, ha?
Bakit to? Eric, bakit to?
Tatanong ka ba? Sino ang may utos sa yung magbisyo ka? Wala kang karapatan!
Hindi lamang miminsang nakipag-away at naglasing si Rogelio. Lalo na nang mapasama siya sa grupo ng mga masasamang loob sa aming lugar. Naging rebelde siya sa kanyang ama sa tuwing sasaktan siya.
Inay, ano po?
Kaawang ka ng Diyos, anak. Nasaan na bang mga kapatid mo?
Tulog na po yung mga bata. Maaga ko po kasing pinakain eh. Kaya lang po si Rogelio. Hindi pa po umuwi.
Aba, saan daw pupunta?
Eh, hindi ko nga po alam eh. Kasi po nagtalo na naman kami kanina eh.
Ano na naman ang pinagtalunan ninyo?
Tungkol na naman po sa inyo ng tatay.
Naman, anak, pwede ba? Huwag na sana ninyo kaming intindihin ang tatay ninyo. Natanggap ko na naman itong kapalaran ko eh.
Paano naman ang kapalaran namin hindi namin matanggap?
Nabiyang ka pala, Rogelio. Saan ka ba nagpunta at maghapon ka raw hindi umuwi?
Basta ba yun? Ang magawa eh.
Hoy, Rogelio, ayusin mo nga yung pagsagot-sagot mo sa nanay ah.
Nainis na ako eh. Nainis na ako sa buhay natin. Naiintindihan mo ba? Nagsasawa na ako. Pare, bilis! Takbo ba? Naku, pare. Paano tayo nito? Kanya-kanya na tayo. Ha? Basta tanda mo, ha? Walang sabitan, ha? Bahala ka na. Sige na, takbo na. Bilis! Magkikita pa rin tayo. Nay! Nay! Nay!
Rogelio, anong nangyari sa'yo? Ha?
Nay, tago niyo ako. Hinahabol ako ng pulis. Masasabit ako, Nay.
Bakit ba? Saan ka ba masasabit?
Nay, natuluyan yung hinoldap namin eh. Nakapatay sila. Hindi ako, Nay.
Diyos ko, anak! Bakit ninyo ginawa yun?
Nay, wala akong kasalanan. Tulungan ninyo ako. Wala akong kasalanan.
Ating piling panauhin sa araw na ito, si Konsolasyon Tumalad na magiging panauhin natin hindi lamang sa araw na ito, kundi sa dalawang susunod pang araw at patuloy siyang magsasalaysay ng kanyang kasaysayan na sana naman ay inyong maibigan. Tulad ng madalas naming sabihin, wag ho kayong aalis dyan. Sa ngalan ng lahat ng bumubuo ng cast ng ating dula, sa ngalan po ng aming technician, si Jess Moreno, ito ang inyong kaibigan sa Himpapawid, Julie Penavaro. Umaasang magsasama-sama tayo muli dito pa rin sa ating palatuntunan, Isang Dipa Lang.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
The Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. Jesus entered a village where a woman whose name was Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary who sat beside the Lord at his feet listening to him speak. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me." The Lord said to her in reply, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her." Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Phil Pelengon, MSc.
Our reflection today will be on the friends of Jesus. You know, Jesus was a very human in his way of relating to people. He has two friends whom he visited, and these friends are Martha and Mary. So one day, he went to visit them. And of course, when Martha and Mary saw him, they say, "Well, welcome. We're happy to have you." And these two sisters have different reactions to the visit of Jesus. Martha, who was the person who was always busy, attending to visitors, especially people they love, and in this case, Jesus himself. So what did Martha do? He started preparing food in the kitchen, as many of us would do oftentimes. When we have special visitors, be it friends, be it somebody, we always try to prepare something good. And this is what Martha did. He went to the kitchen and busied himself. While Mary, was different. Jesus sat down and talked, and Mary sat at the feet of Jesus and listened to what Jesus was saying, listening to what Jesus was explaining to him. So in other words, there is a relationship of familiarity in this sense. Very human perhaps, And in many instances, when we receive visitors, we don't just leave them there sitting down by themselves, but we always try to entertain them. And this is what Mary did. She entertained Jesus, not only by just talking to him, but she also listened to him. The important thing is listening to him. Well, Martha was busy, and so Martha was a little bit disturbed by this attitude of Mary. And so he went to Jesus, not so much really to complain, but just to treat it as a normal reaction. He said, "Lord," he said, "I'm very busy at the kitchen. Could you ask my sister to help me?" And so Jesus said to Martha, "Martha, Martha, you're so preoccupied with the things of the house, or so preoccupied in preparing something for me. I appreciate that. I really like that, I know that you want me to have something special, but Mary has chosen a better part." What is the meaning with that? Mary has chosen a better part. In other words, what is more important than just doing the busyness or the things we like to be busy with is that really once in a while to listen to God, to listen to Jesus. And this is really what is important in life. Sometimes we forget to relax. We're so busy with the things that we are doing in the office, be it in the office, be it at home, especially for mothers sometimes, at home. What do? They're busy washing clothes and all that, but they have never taken a chance really to sit down for a while and reflect. But not only reflect on what? Think about something else, or to pray. And this is what Mary did. And that's why Jesus said to her, Martha, Martha, Mary has chosen a better part. You know. And I'd like to tell you a story. There was a father, who went to the teacher and he said, how is my son? And the teacher said to him about the son, the behavior of the son. And so the father had tried to tell the teacher what happened. He said, I was always busy in my work because I always thought that what I should be doing is to earn and give my children things that they want, things that they need. And so what happened was that because of my attitude, of my relationship to him, my wife and my children left me. I so loved them, but because of that, they left me. And so the father said, perhaps what I have failed to do is that I was busy earning things in order to give to the children, but I never realized that there is something more important, that is to take care of them, to listen to them, the love that I should, the affection that I should give them. And so that's where I failed. And I think the story of Martha and Mary, when Jesus said to her, to Martha, Mary has chosen the better part. It is not always the work that counts, but it is the relationship. So the father's attitude to the son, or the father's attention to be given to the son, was more important. Just as important, perhaps, not even, if not say more important, but just as important of working to provide, but also paying attention and showing them his affection. So I think, my dear friends, as we reflect on this, when Jesus said, Mary has chosen the better part, it is this. What is important is being able to listen and be able to listen to the feelings, to what the people can express to us, especially as shown by the Father, that what he failed to do was to listen to the Son. Perhaps he was able to give them everything, but the behavior of the Son showed that there was more than just giving things, but giving himself to them. And that it is very important in life, to give oneself to the other. And that is perhaps what Mary did to Jesus. So, my dear friends, let us reflect on this. Let us reflect in our relationship with one another. What is important? It is not the material things that we can offer, but it is giving ourselves to them, giving our attention to them. And that is more important. This is Father Phil Pelingon, MSc. I hope that what we have shared today will always be listened to by you and put in your hearts, and be not on your hearts, but also applied in everything that you do. What is important is our relationship and the attention we give to the others. God bless.
This has been your daily gospel, your capsule of inspiration, hope, and faith.
Sanctuner?
And you're about to hear a story from the website kidsworldfun.com.
Friends. Bunny Rabbit lived in the forest. He had many friends. He was proud of his friends. One day, Bunny Rabbit heard the loud barking of the wild dogs. He was very scared. He decided to ask for help. He quickly went to his friend Deer. He said, "Dear friend, some wild dogs are chasing me. Can you chase them away with your sharp antlers?" Deer said, "That is right, I can, but now I am busy. Why don't you ask the bear for help?" Bunny Rabbit ran to the bear. "My dear friend, you are very strong. Please help me. Some wild dogs are after me. Please chase them away," he requested the bear. Bear replied, "I am sorry. I am hungry and tired. I need to find some food. Please ask the monkey for help." Poor Bunny went to the monkey, elephant, goat, and all his friends. Bunny felt sad that nobody was ready to help him. He understood that he has to think of a way out. He hid under a bush. He lay still while the wild dogs went their way. Moral: true friends stay by your side no matter what.
We would like to acknowledge kidsworldfun.com for the lessons we learned and shared today.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you grow as a person by listening to us. Just remember that everywhere you go, your wisdom with God is better than your best day without Him. This has been Sam Tutor, Communication Foundation for Asia's official podcast. We hope and pray that you tune in with us the next day. Once more, this is CFA Sam Tutor, your Dreamcasting Service.
You are now listening to CFA's longest radio drama series, Isang Dipa, Langit.
Isang Dipa Langit, Konsolasyon Tumalad, Part 2.
Rogelio Tumalad, may dalaw ka. Sino? Nanay mo raw. Ando sa dulong mesa. Dalay mo, limitado oras mo.
Kumusta anak? Eto, may mga dala akong pagkain.
Di kayo pumasok, Nay. Kumusta po mga kapatid?
Nag-half day ako dahil sadya kitang dadalawin ngayon. Maayos naman nga palang mga kapatid mo.
Tatay, kumusta na?
Ay nako, tinanong mo pa.
Nay, nakikita niyo ba rin si Totong?
Hindi. Bakit? Nakakalaya pa rin ba?
Mga tarantado sila, Nay. Pakinig kayo sa akin. Tatakas ako rito. Wala akong kasalanan. Hahantingin ko si Totong. At alam ko kung saan sila makikita. Hahantingin ko sila, Inay.
Isang dipa, langit.
Sa karaniwang nilalang, ang tanging pangarap ay makalayo sa gubat ng kadiliman at makarating sa bukid ng liwanag at pag-asa. Isang dipa, langit, malayo sa pangamba, singlapit ng hininga, katatagpuan ng kapayapaan ng isip, kung saan naroon ang mga pusong nagmamahal, mga palad na nakalaan, handang umalalay, maging gabay, makibahagi sa pasanin ng kalooban.
Isang dipa, langit.
Isang dipa, langit. Pagsasadula ng mga tunay na karanasan at sa mga karaniwang taong nagsisikap na mahango ang sarili sa kahirapan ng buhay. Isang dipa, langit. Mga kaibigan, balikan natin muli ang pangunahing tauhan ng ating pagtatanghal sa araw na ito, si Julie Fan Navarro.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Greg Arnaldo. At tulad ng ipinangako ko po kahapon, pasensya na kayo. Gagawin natin hanggat maaari sa pagpapasimula ng ating palatuntunan. At ngayon, bago tayo magkulang ng panahon, patuloy tayo. Ikalawang bahagi ng kasaysayan ni Konsolasyon Tumalad dito pa rin sa ating tula, Isang Dipa Lang.
Ako po ay tubong Maynila na nakapag-asawa ng batugan at iresponsable. Marami po ang naghahangad ng aming tuluyang paghihiwalay dahil po sa puro bugbog pa ang aking inaabot sa kanya. Hindi po ako nagtaka nang bukod sa aking mga magulang at kapatid ay magangad rin ang aking mga anak ng paghihiwalay naming mag-asawa. Naging mga desperada tuloy sila, lalo na si Rogelio, na siya ko ring naging problema bukod sa aking asawa. Naging mabisyo siya't madalas nasasabit sa gulo, hanggang sa masangkot siya sa isang holdapan at siya ay nakulong.
Inay? Aba? Inay, nariyan na pala kayo. Bakit po kayo umiiyak?
Anak, ang kapatid mo, bakit siya nagkakaganon?
Kumusta na nga ho pala siya? Ano na naman ho ba yun?
Nagbabalak siyang tumakas at hahantingin niya raw si Dodong.
Ho? Eh, hindi pa nga ho nasisimulan yung kaso niya eh.
Hindi lamang yun eh. Gaganti siya kina Dodong at magaganib ang buhay niya.
Ano ba naman yung lalaki niya, no? Sobra na yata. Sabihin nga ninyo sa kanya, hindi lang siyang iniintindi ninyo. Hindi lang siyang anak ninyo.
Christina, kailangan ng kapatid ninyo ang tulong. Nakakaintindi ka ba?
Pero inay, labag sa batas sa mga binabalak niya.
At bakit naman natin kukonsintihin ang mga labag sa batas na balak niya?
At anong gusto ninyong gawin natin? Aba, kung ganyan matigas ang ulo, pabayaan na ninyo mabulok sa bilangguan.
Kumusta na anak mo?
Ayun, sentensyado. Galit na galit nga sa mga kasama niyang nakalaya eh.
Sino? Sina Dodong? Adanan ko lang sa may kanto Nagiinuman
At ang sabi pa ng anak mo, makalaya lamang daw siya, talaga raw gagantihan niyang mga yon.
Maniwala ka roon. Kung talagang gusto niyang gumanti, ang dali-dali ikanta yung mga kasama niya.
Hindi nga raw ganun kadali yun eh. Mayroon nga raw pagbabanta sa mga pamilya kapag ikinantang sino man sa mga kasama.
Ang sabihin mo, takot siya. Kaya tigilan niya yung ganti-ganti. Wala siyang mapapalaryan.
Pwede ba? Tigilan na nga natin yung usapang yan. Wala namang tutunguhan yan eh. Baka pagbintangan mo na naman akong nangungunsinte.
Mabuti. Mabuti at alam mo. At saka, leksyon na rin yan sa kanyang pagkakakulong na yan.
Aba, Alfonso, baka nakalimutan mong walang kasalanan ng anak mo sa pinagdudusahan niya ngayon.
Alam ko. Kaya mabuti nga sa kanya. Yan ang napala niya sa kasasama niya sa mga tarantadong tao. Kaya pag hindi pa naman siya nagtanda, higit pa riyan, maabutin niya.
Isang Dipa Langit. We'll be back after this short break.
Hi! Kami ang Pabebe Girls at wala kayong pake kung nakikinig kami ng CFA Sound Tuner. Anyway.
Quotes to brighten your
Day! A quote from the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity. Ang tunay na sikreto sa tagumpay ay pagsisikap at patuloy na pagbangon sa bawat pagkakamali.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
And now we're back to Isang Dipa Langit.
Naisip ko ang leksyon na ring may tuturing yun para kay Rogelio. Bagamat batid naming nasangkot lamang siya. Samantala, patuloy pa rin sa kanyang bisyo si Alfonso hanggang sa natuklasan kong may panibago na naman akong problema.
Aray po! Aray! Siya ka talaga! Akala ko santa ka. Yung pala hindi, ho!
Aray ko to! Ano naman ba yan, ha?
Ay, anak mo! Alam mo kung sinong mahinhin?
Teka nga, liwanagin mo nga yung mga sinasabi mo.
Yung babaeng yan, nahuli kong nakikipagtakbo doon sa may plaza.
Ano? Christina, totoo ba yun? Ha?
At ako pa yata ang pinalalabas itong sinungaling, ah. Eh, kitang-kita ng dalawang mata ko. Ano
Ano
ba?
nga ang nakita ng dalawang mata mo?
Nakikipaglampungan yang anak mo doon kay Toto. Yung mag-standby dyan sa kabilang kalye. Munti ko na ngang masapakin pagmumukha eh.
Christina, ano ka ba naman? Hindi ko akalain. Kailan mo pa ginagawa yan?
Yan! Yan ang sinasabi ko. Masyado kang pabayang ina.
Aba, at kung magsalita ito, akala mo kung sino? Ano naman kaya ang palagay niya sa kanyang sarili, Aber?
Sabi nga ng mga taga-plaza eh, madalas daw yan doon eh. Ganyan lagi daw yung anak mo pag ganitong oras.
Christina, ano ka ba naman? Pati ba naman ikaw? Paawa ka naman sa akin. Sa mga kapatid mo.
Inay, patawarin po ninyo ko. Mahal ko po kasi si Toto.
Pero wala kang mapapala sa kanya. Tama na ang isang katulad ko sa mundo.
Ako! Nagsipag-drama pa mga ito. Ha? Sa bagay, baka makuha nga kayong dramaturgo sa radyo.
Tumigil ka nga, hayop ka!
Bakit?
Kung ikaw sanang naghahanap buhay, sana nasusubaybayan ko mga anak mo.
Ba, ako pa
Hindi sana sila nagkakaganito! Christina!
Inay, nariyan na po. Mukhang panay na ang ubo ninyo ah.
Wala ito. Naulanan lang kasi ako kahapon eh. Bigyan mo nga ako ng maiinom.
Sandali lang ha, kuha ko ng maiinom ninyo.
Hirap ng ubong ito.
Inay, eto na ang tubig. Sandali lang ho. At aalalayan ko kayo.
Salamat.
Aba, Inay, nilalagnat ho pala kayo eh. Naku, ang taso ng lagnat ninyo. Sobrang init ng katawan ninyo. Eh, kailangan may sugod kayo sa doktor.
Itinuring kong panibagong dagok ang natuklasan kong pagkahumaling ni Christina sa isang istambay sa aming lugar. Samantala, napasama ang kalagayan ng aking katawan nang minsang maulanan ako sa aking pag-uwi mula sa patahian.
Teka, bakit lulugo-lugo yata itong nanay niya? Ay, wala ka bang pasok?
Itay, hindi ho muna papasok ang nanay.
Bakit?
Sabi ho ng doktor, kailangan daw ho niya ng mahaba-habang pamamahinga.
Ay, bakit? Ano bang nanay niya?
Nalamigan daw ho ang pulmon. Kaya kailangan po ng lubusan pamamahinga at pag-iingat. Baka raw ho magkaroon ng komplikasyon sa puso.
Ah, ganun ba?
Opo.
Eh, paano ngayon yan? Anong kakainin ng mga kapatid mo kung hindi siya magtatrabaho?
Hindi ho ba, Itay, may pakyaw kayo ng Ninong Ben ko? Doon po sa nagpapapinturang bahay sa may kabilang kanto.
Aba, pakialam meron na rin pala itong batang ito, no? Eh, ano ngayon?
Hanggat hindi pa po sana nakakapasok ang nanay, kayo na po muna sana ang bahala.
Wala kayong pakialam sa akin. Kayong bahala sa buhay ninyo. Dahil sa akin lang, kulang pa yung kinikita ko.
Itay, maawa naman po kayo sa mga kapatid ko.
Kaya nga, hindi na muna ako hihingi sa inyo. Nakakaintindi ka ba?
Bayaan na ninyong tatay ninyo. Kahit naman kailan, wala kayong napalarian eh.
Saan po tayo kukuha ng panggastos kung ganyang hindi kayo makapasok?
May isang buwan akong pondo kaya haling natin sa patahian. Siguro naman makakaraos tayo ron. Huwag mo na lamang mababanggit sa tatay ninyo.
Talaga ho?
Oo. Ipagdasal mo na lamang na gumaling ako agad ng lubusan sa lalong madaling panahon. Dahil pag hindi ako gumaling, kawawa kayong magkakapatid. Hindi nga ako nakapagtrabaho ng halos 3 linggo. Kinakailangang magpahinga ako ng lubusan upang maiwasan ang anumang komplikasyon sa aking karamdaman.
Aba, inay, kayo pala yung naliligo kanina. Akala ko ang tatay.
Kanina pa umalis ang tatay ninyo.
Ang ibig kong sabihin, papasok na ho ba kayo?
Oh, bakit? Magaling na naman ako ah.
Sigurado ho kayo. Baka ho mamaya mag-collapse kayo.
Christina, kaya ko na. At saka inaalala ko rin yung mga atraso natin eh.
Sinasabi ko na nga ba eh. Huwag na nga muna ninyong intindihin yon. Mas malaking perwisyo kasi eh.
Basta't nararamdaman kong kaya ko na. Akong may katawan.
Pero inay,
kaya akong nakakaalam sa sarili ko.
Lola! O siya, magsipaglaro kayo uli. Nasaan na bang nanay nyo? Ha? Konsolasyon!
Ay, naku, Lola! Lola! Tuloy po kayo!
Sabik na sabik. Nasaan na ba ang nanay nyo?
Ay, naku, pumasok na po. Kanina lang siya nagsimula uli eh.
Ano? Bakit? Magaling na ba?
Pinipigil ko nga po eh. At saka hindi pa po ubos yung gamot niya eh.
Anong nangyari?
Ayun, nasigawan lang po ako. Masyado pa ho kasing naliligalig sa mga naging atraso namin.
Yan namang nanay nyo, oo. Talagang matigas ang ulo. Kung hindi pa naman alam ng ayaw namin dyan kay Alfonso, doon pa rin siya sa mama. Yan ang naging buhay niya.
May katwiran naman ho kasi ang nanay eh.
Ano? Anong katwiran? Sa pagsama sa tatay niya?
Hindi ho, sa sinasabi niya ngayon.
Tina! Gusto mo itong pinto?
Ang tatay ho yun, Lola. Sandali lang ho at bubuksan kong pinto.
Sige.
Tina, ano ba?
Nariyan na po!
Bakit ba napakatagal mo magbukas ng pintuan?
Narito po kasi ang Lola eh.
Ano ngayon? Nabusog ba kayo? Dahil nandyan ang lola ninyo?
Ay, Lola.
Yang barumbado niyong ama ang pinagtitiyagaan ninyo.
Sa inyo pala nagmana si Konsolasyon eh. Parang tigre.
Hoy! Kung hindi ko pa alam, ha? Isa ka lang palamunin dito sa bahay na ito.
Mag-iingat ho kayo ng pagsalita ninyo. Baka ho nakakalimutan nyo. Wala kaming napapala sa inyo.
Anong klase kang ama, ha? Anong klase kang manugang? Anong klase?
Pwede ba?
Itay.
Huwag niyo na kaming pakialaman. Nananahimik kami rito. Ayaw ko ng pakikialaman ng buhay namin, ng kahit sino.
Hayop ka! Walang hiya ka!
Ay, Diyos ko, Lola. Ay, naku. Ang Lola matutuma. Ay, Diyos ko, Lola! Lola!
Diyan po nagwawakas ang hindi una, kundi ikalawang bahagi ng kasaysayan ni Konsolasyon Tumalad na ating panauhin para sa loob ng 3 araw dito sa ating palatuntunan. Habang naglalaon ay mukhang nagiging mainit ang mga kabanata sa kanyang buhay. Sana po ay patuloy pa rin kayo makinig sa ating palatuntunan sa susunod na araw upang mapakinggan ninyo ang pagwawakas ng kasaysayan ni Aling Konsolasyon. Hanggang sa muli, sa ngalan po ng lahat ng mga radio drama talents, ito po ang inyong kaibigan sa Himpapawid, Julie Fe Navarro. Sana masaya kayo tulad namin dito.
Isang dipa lang.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
The Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he had finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray just as John taught his disciples." He said to them, "When you pray, say, 'Father, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we ourselves forgive everyone in debt to us, and do not subject us to the final test." Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Phil Pelengon, MSc.
Well, today, as we celebrate the feast of the Holy Rosary, I would like to reflect first on the first reading, which is about Jonah, who was sent by God to a mission. And Jonah prayed to God to punish the Nineveh. So he was angry because he said, "Why did God not do what I've asked him, to punish these Ninevites?" Because, the story behind this is that God sent Jonah to the Ninevites to convert them. But, Jonah at first did not like to travel to another place. So that's why perhaps he was taken by God to this island, as the story went, and he was put inside the fish, and the fish brought him to Nineveh. I think the story here is that God gives us a mission oftentimes to do something. And that mission is always to be performed by us according to God's will, not according to God's way, not according to our way. And so Jonah perhaps was expecting that since he was sent by God there and he asked God to punish them because of the way the Ninevites were living, so he was angry. I think that sometimes we get angry, Anger sometimes comes out naturally. There is what we call rightful anger, and there is an anger that is not justified. But we must always realize that a rightful anger, I mean, that we get angry to somebody, is but normal. But the question here is, how do we control our anger? Even if it is a rightful anger, rightful in the sense that we are justified to get angry because of perhaps the injustice being done or whatever that really calls for our anger. Because anger can sometimes cause more than just an expression of, bad language, or what. It can also result to something more serious than that. So, but what we would likely to say is, we would like to control our anger. But one way of this is to pray. And so today, as we celebrate the Feast of the Holy Rosary, what is this Holy Rosary? First of all, it is really something that was introduced by the St. Dominic Guzman, who is the founder of the Dominican Order. I introduced this devotion called the Holy Rosary. The Holy Rosary is one way really to pacify us, or even sometimes when moments is there that we feel sad, we feel angry, and we cannot sleep. You take the Holy Rosary and you pray it. Why? It does not only pacify you, it does not only make you relax, but it really makes you reflect. Why? Because the Holy Rosary, if you recite the mysteries, it is the mysteries of the life of Jesus. The life of Jesus. And as you reflect on the life of Jesus, first, for instance, if it is the sorrowful mystery, reflect on the first sorrowful mystery is the agony of Jesus. So in other words, the passion and death of Jesus is there. So reflect. Jesus really suffered and died for me. And in between that, you say the Hail Mary, which is, the prayer of the angel, when he announced to Mary, the incarnation, the coming of the Son of God to be incarnate, to redeem us. And so the Rosary, therefore, not only makes us reflect on the mysteries of the life of Jesus, and of course the role of Mary in our redemption, and say, for instance, the joyful mysteries. It is the Annunciation. It is the announcing of the birth of Jesus to Mary. And if you reflect on that, Mary's attitude to the invitation, and it makes you really say, well, why should I be angry when God could have been angry with me with all my sins? And yet, what did he do? He announced to the angel Gabriel, announced to Mary the coming of the Son to suffer and die for me, who is sinful. Not that I have the right to be saved, but it is because of God's love. God's love is very important in this. When we recite the Rosary, it reminds us of God's love through the mysteries of the Rosary that we pray. God's love expressed in the life of Jesus, from the time he was announced to Mary to be born to the time he died on the cross. And then, of course, the other parts of the Rosary. So as we pray the Hail Mary and really pray it with the concentration, we are put in the position of Mary when the angel announced to her. And Mary's attitude was, let it be done to me according to your word. In other words, I accept, Lord, what your invitations. I know what it involves. I know what it involves. In other words, this invitation is more than just my saying of yes to you. My yes means that I have to really suffer or whatever, to undergo whatever this invitation involves. So also with us, if we get angry, we say, like Jonas getting angry, because he was saying that that God did not know what he prayed for. And sometimes we get disappointed. Not only disappointed because God did not give us whatever we have prayed for, like Jonas. But remember, God has his own time, not our time. So I think when we try to celebrate this Feast of the Holy Rosary, and we reflect on the mysteries, which is really the life of life and death of Jesus, and of course his redemption through his resurrection and his ascension into heaven, we really realized that God's love was really expressed by Jesus. God's love was really led by Jesus and shown by Jesus to us, how we should express this love to one another. Greater love than this no man has, that he would sacrifice himself for his friends, because Jesus calls us friends. So also in this, the greatest love that a man can show is to sacrifice himself for the other. And so this recitation of the Holy Rosary, as we celebrate this feast, easily makes us realize what that greatest love is all about. It is that love that God has shown us through his Son. So the heart of Jesus is the expression, as the symbol of God's love for us. And so, my dear friends, today, as we reflect on this, let's also try to, in moments that we get angry, in moments that we get discouraged, that if we take the rosary and pray, we get the consolation, not only the consolation, but it is a way of pacifying ourselves, of keeping our minds, because what prayer for is lifting of our minds and heart to God. So we avoid what anger can result to. We will avoid what anger would bring about in us. But it will divert our attention from what we are angry at to what we should be happy about. And that is God's love shown by the life of Jesus and how he lived his life for us. This is Father Phil Pelingon, Missionaries with Sacred Heart. Hope that this reflection today on the Feast of the Most Holy Rosary would help us also, not only to pray the Holy Rosary, but as well as really to live a life that is normal, perhaps with anger, but at the same time expressing that anger in love. God bless.
This has been your daily gospel, your capsule of inspiration, hope, and faith.
And you're about to hear a story from the website kidsworldfun.com. The Love and the Time story. Once upon a time, there was an island where all the feelings lived. Happiness, sadness, knowledge, and all of the others, including love. One day, it was announced to the feelings that the island would sink. So all constructed boats and left, except for love. Love was the only one who stayed. Love wanted to hold out until the last possible moment. When the island had almost sunk, Love decided to ask for help. Richness was passing by Love in a grand boat. Love said, "Richness, can you take me with you?" Richness answered, "No, I can't. There's a lot of gold and silver in my boat. There is no place here for you." Love decided to ask Vanity, who was also passing by in a beautiful vessel. "Vanity, please help me." "I can't help you, Love. You're all wet and might damage my boat," Vanity answered. Sadness was close by, so Love asked, "Sadness, let me go with you." Oh, love, I'm so sad that I need to be by myself. Happiness passed by Love too, but she was so happy that she did not even hear when Love called her. Suddenly, there was a voice. Come, Love, I will take you. It was an elder. So blessed and overjoyed, Love even forgot to ask the elder where they were going. When they arrived at the dry land, the elder went his own way. Realizing how much was owed the elder, Love asked Knowledge, another elder, "Who helped me?" "It was Time," Knowledge answered. "Time?" asked Love. "But why did Time help me?" Knowledge smiled with deep wisdom and answered, "Because only Time is capable of understanding how valuable love is." We would like to acknowledge KidsWorldFun.com for the lessons we learned and shared today.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you grow as a person by listening to us. Just remember that everywhere you go, your worst with God is better than your best without Him. This has been Sam Tuner, Communication Foundation for Asia's official podcast. We hope and pray that you tune in with us the next day. Once more, this is CFA Sam Tuner, your Tune Plastic Songs. Do you like to listen and reflect about life? Anything to feed your mind and soul with reflective gospel readings, radio drama series, and segments that discusses something from everything to fill your Mondays to Fridays. Then you have come to the right place. This is CFA Sanctuary, your Tune Plastic Songs.
You are now listening to CFA's longest radio drama series, Isang Dipa Langit.
Isang Dipa Langit, Daniel Torres, Part 1.
Oh, Daniel, lasing ka na naman.
Hindi ako lasing, Nay.
Daniel.
Baka biraan nyo naman ako ng sermon. Magbabad trip pa ko niya eh. Huwag lang na ninyo akong pakialaman, Nay. Pwede ba?
Daniel, ano bang nangyayari sa'yo? Bakit ka ba nagkakaganyan?
Kulit naman ninyo eh. Sabi na huwag nyo akong pakialaman. Pabayaan lang ninyo ako. Pwede ba? Pwede ba?
Isang dipa lang.
Sa karaniwang nilalang, ang tanging pangarap ay makalayo sa gubat ng kadiliman at makarating sa pugad ng liwanag at pag-asa. Isang dipa, langit, malayo sa pangamba, singlapit ng hininga, katatagpuan ng kapayapaan ng isip, kung saan naroon ang mga pusong nagmamahal, mga palad na nakalaan, handang umalalay, maging gabay, makibahagi sa pasanin ng kalooban.
Isang dipa langit.
Isang dipa, langit. Pagsasadula ng mga tunay na karanasan at sa mga karaniwang taong nagsisikap na mahango ang sarili sa kahirapan ng buhay. Isang dipa, langit. Mga kaibigan, narito po ngayon ang pangunahing tauhan ng ating pagtatanghal sa araw na ito, si Julie Fan Navarro.
Hello, good afternoon. Kumusta ho kayo mga kaibigan? Kumusta ng panahon dyan sa inyo? Malamig ho ba? Kailangan siguro may katabi o may kayakap, ano? Ayan. kilala na natin kung sinong ating panauhin. Isa palang gentleman. Isang lalaki, si Ginoong Daniel Torres. Anyway, ang ating bisita, si Daniel Torres, ay handa na po. Narito na unang bahagi sa kasaysayan ng ating panauhin, si Daniel Torres, dito pa rin sa ating dula, Isang Dipa Lang.
Ako po'y tubong Maynila. Sa kasalukuyan, 27 anyos at naninirahan sa Makiling Street, Mandaluyong, Metro Manila. Maliit lang ang aming pamilyang kinabibilangan. 2 lamang kaming magkapatid. 7 taon ang aming pagitan. Isang ulirang may bahay ang aming ina at responsableng ama naman ang aking ama. Nagtatrabaho siya bilang supervisor sa isang pabrika ng tela. Inaamin kong walang naging pagkukulang ang aking mga magulang. Kaya't maraming nagtataka kung bakit noon ako'y naging barumbado pa at masamang anak.
Nay, kain na tayo. Gutom na ako eh. Huwag na natin hintayin si Itay.
Sige, ikaw. Kung nagugutom ka na ba eh. Halika na, ipaghahain kita.
Opo. Aling Esther! Aling Esther! Parang si
Bet-
Bet yun ah.
Oo nga.
Nay, tingnan niyo sa bintana.
Oo.
Aling Esther!
Oh, Bet, bakit?
Ay, si Danielo. Ha? Naroon sa kanto at nakikipag-away na naman.
Ano?
Madali kayo, Aling Esther. Baka pumapano po siya.
Sige, Bet. Susunod na ako. Sige.
Guys,
Oh,
bakit to po?
ang Kuya Daniel mo din. Nakikipag-away na naman. Ay, dito ka lang ha. Pupuntahan ko lang ang Kuya Daniel mo.
Opo, Inay.
Ako, Diyos ko. Bakit ba nagkakaganito ng anak ko? Ay, naku, Diyos kong bata ka, oo. Bakit ba nakikipag-away ka na naman? Aray. Kita mo nga yung nangyari sa'yo.
Puro kaaway, ayan. Dumudugo ang kilay mo ay.
Huwag ka makalam dito ha, din ha.
Oy, Daniel, ano ka ba? Kapatid mo yan.
Makalam meron masyado eh. Loka ka ha. Mag-iingat ka sa akin.
Kuya!
Tumahimik ka. Lalo
Tama
na kapag ganito
na.
mainit ang ulo ko.
Tama na. Ano ba?
Balak ninyo ako sermonan, huwag nyo nang ituloy na eh. Mainis lang ako eh. Pabayaan nyo na lang ako sa buhay na gusto ko.
Pero Daniel...
Huwag ko ginagawa ako.
Daniel! Anak! Daniel!
Nay, hayaan niyo na siya. Baka mamaya magwala pa yun.
Din.
Pagdating ni Itay, susumbong ko siya.
Wag ka na magsumbong, ha? Wag.
Para mapagalitan siya ni Itay. Kasi, kinakaya-kaya kayo ni Kuya.
Din, mangako ka sa akin. Hindi ka magsusumbong sa itay mo.
Inay,
Mangako ka. Pag hindi ka nangako, ikaw ang tatamaan sa akin.
Isang Dipa Langit. We'll be back after this short break.
Hi! Kami ang Pabebe Girls at wala kayong pake kung nakikinig kami ng CFA Sound Tuner. Anyway.
Quotes to brighten your day from the book The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. There will come a time when all of us are dead. All of us. There will come a time when there are no human beings remaining to remember that anyone ever existed or that our species ever did anything.
There will be no one left to remember, Aristotle or Cleopatra, let alone you. Everything that we did and built and wrote and thought and discovered will be forgotten, and all of this will have been for naught. Maybe that time is coming soon, and maybe it is millions of years away. But even if we survive the collapse of our sun, we will not survive forever. There was time before organisms experienced consciousness, and there will be time after. And if the inevitability of human oblivion worries you, I encourage you to ignore it. God knows that's what everyone else does. Alam mo ba na ang mga tumatakbong kabayo sa karera ay hindi alam kung bakit sila tumatakbo? Tumatakbo lang sila dahil sa sakit ng palo ng rider nila. Ang buhay natin ay isa ring karera at si God ang ating rider. Kaya kung nasasaktan ka, isipin mo na gusto ni God na manalo ka.
Yeah! You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
And now we're back to Isang Dipa Langit.
Wala akong ginawa noon kundi bumarkada, uminom, at madalas pa akong mapaaway. Hindi ko pansin ang mga pangaral ng aking mga magulang. 17 years old ako noon. Para sa akin, masaya ako sa mga ginagawa kong kalokohan.
Oh my God, ang yun eh. Okay ka talagang barkada, pare.
Ikaw rin, Lester. Okay ka rin barkada, Pads.
Nahihayin kita kanina. Akala ko, tatanggi ka sa happenings. Kasi may klase ka, di ba?
Wisit na eskwela yan. Talaga yung pag-aaral. Nakakasira sa barkada eh.
Okay ka talaga, pare. Magkakasundo tayo.
Alam mo, Lester, gusto kong ma-enjoy ang buhay ko. Gusto kong mag-enjoy na gusto. At gusto kong gawin ang anumang nais ko, ha? At walang makakapigil sa akin, Pads. Wala. Ilan tayo ko rin?
Sige.
Yan. Bakit tayo nahintay?
Bakit to?
Saan ka galing?
Sa eskwela ako.
Hanggang anong oras ba ang klase mo? Palagay nang hanggang alas 9 ka. Hindi ka pa rin dapat umuwi ng ganitong oras. Mag-uumaga na.
Ngayon.
Daniel, bakit ganyan ka magsasagot sa itay mo?
Paano ba ako sumagot?
Tarantado ka talaga, no? Pinagpapasensyahan lang kita. Pero nakikita kong umaabuso ka na. Wala kang inatupag kundi bumarkada.
Tapos na kayo.
Daniel!
Gusto ko lang matulog eh. Diyan na kayo.
Bastos ko! Pabayaan mo ko, Esther. Pabayaan mo ko!
Wag!
Tuturo ko ng leksyon ng tarantadong to. Ano? Bakit ganyan ka kumakatingin? Gusto mo ba lumaban? Sige! Lumaban ka! Lumaban ka!
Daniel, magpahinga ka na. Sige na.
Mag-iingat ka sa akin, ha? Pag napuno na ako, lulumpuin
Pero
kita!
tama na. Nakakahiya sa mga kapitbahay.
What?
Ito, ano pa? Bakit mo sinuntok pati ang dingding?
Sister, nagkulang ba ako? Masama ba akong ama?
Ito.
Bakit binigyan ako ng Diyos ng walang hiyang anak na tulad niya? Bakit?
Tama na. Magpahinga na tayo. Halika na.
Akala ko pa naman, mawawala ako. Eh, maasahan ako sa ating pamilya. Ngunit ngayon, paano kung maasahan ng ganyang klaseng anak? O patawarin ako ng Diyos, Esther. Pero kung minsan tuloy, gusto ko na siyang itakwil.
Pero wag.
Gusto ko na kalimutan siya ay aking anak.
Ano bang masasakit na salita ang marinig ko sa bibig ng aking mga magulang? Baliwala sa akin. Madalas kong sabihin sa sarili kong sanay na ako doon. Hanggang minsan, nahuli nilang pinakamasamang bisyo ko.
Ay, ako, inay. Ang dumi-dumi ng kwarto ni Kuya Daniel. Kaya, ito, winawal ko.
Sinisipag ka yata, ha din.
Sabi kasi ni Itay, bibili niya ako ng walking short eh. Kaya, ito, masipag ako, Nay.
O, sige nga. Tingnan ko nga kung paano kang maglinis.
Ah. Yan.
Aba, malinis nga. O, itong mga kahon-kahon. Baka may daga at ipis na sa loob. Nilinis mo din ba ito?
Hindi ho.
Oy, bakit hindi? Oh, tingnan mo, Ang daming basura. Parang, ano ito?
Ay, Nay.
Ano to, ha?
Yan, sigarilyo ba yan?
Hindi ito sigarilyo. Marijuana ito. Marijuana.
Ay?
Si Daniel? Gumagamit ng marijuana? Diyos ko, hindi totoo ito. Hindi.
Okay ang luto nyo na yan. Ang sarap. Ginanahan tuloy akong kumain eh.
Daniel.
Nay, ano naman ang drama yan? Kailan ako kumakain, pambira?
Bakit nagawa mo ito, anak? Bakit?
Nay, ano ba naman ang yan? Drama na naman. Pambira akong puwisit na.
Ano ang ibig sabihin itong marijuana ito?
Nay? Saan nyo kinuha yan? Akin ho yan!
Daniel.
Huwag niyo pakikialaman ito kung ayaw ninyo magkagulo tayo.
Adik ka na. Gumagamit ka na ng drugs.
Nay!
Bakit? Bakit, ha? Gusto mo nang wasakin ang buhay mo? Gusto mo nang mamatay?
Gusto ko mag-enjoy sa buhay ko, Nay.
Mag-enjoy? Sa paggamit mo ng drugs? Abay, minamadali mo ang buhay mo niyan, Daniel!
Pabayaan lang ninyo sabi ko eh. Kung madali man ang buhay ko, wala na kayong pakialam. Di ba yun naman ang gusto ninyo? O mawala na ako? Kaya pabayaan lang ninyo ako.
Pero...
Bakit? Ano naman ang nangyayari dito?
Berto, kanina ka pa pa.
Kararating ko lamang. Narinig kong nagtataas na naman ang boses ng impacto nito eh. Bakit ba?
Wala, Berto. Sige na, Daniel. Magpahinga ka na. May pasok ka pa sa eskwela bukas.
Anong pasok ang pinagsasabi mo dyan? Hindi na pumapasok sa eskwela yung anak mo.
Ano?
Nag-drop na yan ng kanyang mga subjects. Pati tayo pinagloloko.
Daniel, totoo bang
Saan gagawin talaga yung anak mo eh? Tignan mo. Ayan. Pag wala nang nasasagot, binibirhin niya tayo ng talikod, Esther. Alam mo ba, nagkita kami ni Beth, yung ka-eskwela ni Daniel, sa 2 subjects. At siya nagsabi sa akin, hindi na pumapasok yung anak mo.
Ha? Anong gagawin natin ngayon, Berto?
Tuturuan ko ng leksyon ng anak mo, Esther. Kahit anong paraan, tuturuan ko siya.
Pinagtakpan ako ng inay ko sa akin naman. Hindi niya sinabing nagdadamo ako o nagmamariwana. Natuklasan din nilang hindi na ako pumapasok sa eskwela. At mula noon, Nay, pingin pera mo. Lalabas lang ako kami ng barkada ko.
Walang pera.
Nakialam ka na naman eh.
Kuya, talaga naman walang pera eh. Yun ang bilin ni Itay.
hindi ka raw makapagbisyo. Oh,
Kaintindi nito.
ikuha mo nga ako ng tubig sa kusina. Opo, inay.
Inay, totoo ba sinabi ni Dindi na...
Oo. Ayaw kong pabigyan ng pera ng itay mo.
Oh?
Dahil hindi ka na naman daw pumapasok. Para daw wala kang magamit sa kalokohan mo.
Ganun ah.
Daniel, anak, bibigyan kita ng pera. Pero, ipangako mong hindi ka maglalasing at hindi ka bibili ng drugs.
Sabihin niyo sa kanya, Inay, kahit hindi niya ako bigyan ng pera, kaya kong dumilahin siya. Kaya huwag niya akong pagmamalakyan.
Daniel, aalis ka. Oh, etong pera para...
Hindi ko kailangan yan.
Salamat din.
Ay, Nay, bakit may hawak kayong pera? Siguro, binigyan niyo si Kuya ng pera, no?
Din, pwede pa. Huwag kang masyadong madaldal, ha?
Opo, Nay. Kuya, kakain na, sabi ni Inay. Kuya? Kuya? Bakit? Nay! Nay! Nay, si Kuya Daniel! Nay, si Kuya Daniel!
Bakit, Daniel? Ano nangyari sa kuya mo?
Nanginginig si Inay. Naroon sa kwarto.
Diyos ko!
Opo.
Daniel!
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Anak!
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Anak, kuya!
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Unang bahagi pa lamang ng pagsasalaysay sa atin ni Daniel Torres na ating piling-piling panauhin para sa loob ng 3 araw dito sa ating dula. Sana po kahit papano ay naibigan ninyo ang aming pagtatanghal at natitiyak ko sa inyong sa susunod na 2 araw ay higit na maiinit na mga tagpo ang inyong masusubaybayan dito sa ating pagsasadula. Hanggang sa muli, sa ngalan ng lahat ng mga radio drama talents na gumaganap sa dulang ito po ang inyong kaibigan sa Himpapawid, Julie Fe Navarro. Nagpapasalamat sa inyong walang sawang pagtangkilik at sana nariyan pa rin kayo sa aming pagbabalik dito sa Himpapawid. Hanggang sa muli, salamat po.
Isang lipa, langit.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
Continue to make your day stronger by taking a capsule of your daily gospel.
The Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "Suppose one of you has a friend to whom he goes at midnight and says, 'Friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread, for a friend of mine has arrived at my house from a journey, and I have nothing to offer him.' And he says in reply from within, 'Do not bother me. The door has already been locked, and my children and I are already in bed. I cannot get up to give you anything. I tell you, if he does not give up to give him the loaves because of their friendship, he will get up to give him whatever he needs because of his persistence. And I tell you, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks, receives, And the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. What father among you would hand his son a snake when he asked for a fish, or hand him a scorpion when he asked for an egg? If you then, who are wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will the Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask Him? Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Phil Pelengon, MSc.
Well, today's reflection on this day, October 8, really talks about what generosity is. It just talks about someone who was already sleeping with his children, and somebody, perhaps a friend or a neighbor, whoever it is, came up and said, could you give me something? And he was asking for something because somebody has come to his house and perhaps he runs out of bread or runs out of something to offer. When he was asking, the fellow was saying to him, no, don't bother me. I'm already sleeping, my children are already sleeping, and I am not sleeping. But no, get out, no, or get away. But there is what you call that persistence of that person, to ask. And so our Lord tells us a story of this because he was saying about of the generosity of the person. When a person asks, would you simply sort of turn it down? I think it is a lesson for us that we should be also persistent in our request to God. This is what our prayer is all about. No? Be persistent, persevering. You ask and you shall receive. You knock and the door will be open to you. Unless you ask, you will never be given. It is only when we ask that people will know that we need something. This is also with God. Oh no, we know that God knows everything that we need. God knows, he said, more than we do what we need. But still, God expects us to ask, Just as in the story that the man asked, said that for bread. And so, the story that Jesus tells is that if the father would give his children bread, and whatever the children would ask, not the serpent, or if we ask for this, he will not give us something contrary, something that is harmful, something that is not for the benefit of the other. So also in our giving, in our generosity to one another, it is in giving that we will receive, isn't it? I think in our way of thinking, in our way of living, we always just expect to receive. But this is also a duty for us to give. It is better to say to give than to receive. My own experience is this now. Oftentimes, when I give everything to somebody, and this is from experience really, that to the point that I find myself without the thing I need, be it money. And then suddenly I said, I have only this left. And then later on, I discovered that something comes up, and it replaces everything that I've given up. So I said to myself, it's really true that when you give and be generous in giving, things will be given to you, perhaps not only 50%, but even 100-fold. So I think this is also in relation to one another. Sometimes when people ask, a beggar comes to us. I'd like to give you this example. At one time I was driving our superior coming from Rome around the city, and comes the beggar, and he extended his hand to ask for something. And I said to no, that's not my duty. And I said to myself, I think that beggar should go to the social welfare. I think that is their duty to give him. So my superior said to me, Father, how about if that beggar is Jesus himself. How do you know that that beggar is Jesus himself extending his hands to you? Would you refuse? No. And I think this is be asked because they need something. So our attitude is sometimes we are only selective in the way we are giving. We give something to somebody, we expect something in return. So the rich man would ask from us something, and we know that later on he will also give us. But if it is a poor man, then we say, well, what will he give me in return? This is always the return that we are expecting. But I think we have to learn from Jesus what giving is all about. He gave himself. We didn't deserve it, but he gave himself. Not only the bread that we need to eat, like when he multiplied the bread for the crowd that were hungry, multiplied the bread and the fish to feed them. But more than that, he gave himself up. And the best thing that he has given himself to us is the Holy Eucharist at Mass. We might say that it's just bread, but that is Jesus himself giving himself. The bread that I give you is my flesh, and the drink that I give you is my blood. Give himself. That's the sacrament. It is not the bodily food that he gives us, but it is himself transforming that into what we should be. So that when he transforms us, it is what we should be to one another. That is what is expected. Because it's only when bread is broken that can be distributed. So that is what sharing is all about. What giving is all about, really, to give generously. And I think it reminds us of a woman in the story in the gospel also, that when he contributed to the temple, he was a poor woman, but she gave what she has. And this is really what giving is all about, to give even something that will hurt. And what is that something that can hurt? Giving ourselves, not just materially, but giving ourselves in service to one another. When somebody needs some kind of consolation, that we would be able to go there and give her consolation. Talk to her. A lonely person needs us to talk to us, or somebody else, or somebody who loses a loved one, to go there and give some consolation, words of consolation that will help. So I think today, as we reflect on this, the man who finally gave in to the persistence of the man who asked for something, also in our relationship to one another, it is not only in terms of the persistence of the guide that we give, but it is also that out of the generosity of our heart we give. It is not just giving, what is extra, but it is really giving even what hurts. And so that is what means by generosity. So I think as we reflect on this, reflect on our attitude towards one another, are we willing to come to the help of somebody, or are we willing to give or to help them because we will expect something in return? But it is really giving without expecting anything. Because I think what our Lord says, do not invite somebody to your party or to whatever it is, to your feast, because he can invite you in return, But even those who cannot invite you again, invite them. Well, I think the Pope has always been very good at that in telling us. So perhaps in reflecting this, that in our own daily life, we come across some people who need our help one way or the other, that we just don't look at them in terms of what they would be able to give us in return, but what we can give wholeheartedly to the person, even at the point of suffering, of pain on our part. This is Father Phil Pelingon. I hope that this sharing will somehow help in our own reflection of our attitude towards one another. Generosity is oftentimes a virtue that is, neglected or not often practiced. God bless.
This has been your daily gospel, your capsule of inspiration, hope, and faith.
Thank Tuner? And you're about to hear a story from the website kidsworldfun.com. The Milkmaid and Her Pail. Patty the milkmaid was going to market, carrying her milk in a pail on her head. As she went along, she began calculating what she would do with the money she would get for the milk. "I'll buy some fowls from Farmer Brown," she said, "and they will lay eggs each morning, which I will sell to the parson's wife. With the money that I get from the sale of these eggs, I'll buy myself a new dress and a cheap hat. And when I go to the market, won't all the young men come up and speak to me?" Polly Shaw will be so jealous, but I don't care. I shall just look at her and toss my head like this. As she spoke that, she tossed her head back and the pail fell off it, and all the milk was spilt. Moral: do not count your chickens before they are hatched. We would like to acknowledge kidsworldfun.com for the lessons we learned and shared today.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you grow as a person by listening to us. Just remember that everywhere you go, your worship with God is better than your best day without Him. This has been Sam Tuner, Communication Foundation for Asia's official podcast. We hope and pray that you tune in with us the next day. Once more, this is CFA Sam Tuner, your Dreamcasting Psalmist. Do you like to listen and reflect about life? Anything to feed your mind and soul with reflective gospel readings, radio drama series, and segments that discusses something from everything to fill your Mondays to Fridays. Then you have come to the right place. This is CFA Sanctuary and Dreamcasting Psalmist.
You are now listening to CFA's longest radio drama series, Isang Dipa, Langit.
Isang Dipa Langit, Daniel Torres, Part 1.
Oh, Daniel, lasing ka na naman.
Hindi ako lasing, Nay.
Daniel.
Birahan niyo naman ako sa sermon. Magbabadrip pa ko niya eh. Huwag lang na ninyo akong pakialaman, Nay. Pwede ba?
Daniel, ano bang nangyayari sa'yo? Bakit ka ba nagkakaganyan?
Ang naman ninyo eh. Sabi na huwag niyo akong pakialaman. Pabayaan lang ninyo ako. Pwede ba? Pwede ba?
Isang dipa lang.
Sa karaniwang nilalang, ang tanging pangarap ay makalayo sa gubat ng kadiliman at makarating sa pugad ng liwanag at pag-asa. Isang dipa, langit, malayo sa pangamba, singlapit ng hininga, katatagpuan ng kapayapaan ng isip, kung saan naroon ang mga pusong nagmamahal, mga palad na nakalaan, handang malalay, maging gabay, makibahagi sa pasanin ng kalooban.
Isang dipa langit.
Isang dipa, langit. Pagsasadula ng mga tunay na karanasan at sa mga karaniwang taong nagsisikap na mahango ang sarili sa kahirapan ng buhay. Isang dipa, langit.
Mga kaibigan, narito po ngayon
Ang pangunahing tauhan ng ating pagtatanghal sa araw na ito, si Julie Fan Navarro.
Hello, good afternoon. Kumusta ho kayo mga kaibigan? Kumusta na ang panahon dyan sa inyo? Malamig ho ba? Kailangan siguro may katabi o may kayakap, ano? Ayan. Kilala na natin kung sino ang ating panauhin. Isa palang gentleman. Isang lalaki, si Ginoong Daniel Torres. Anyway, ang ating bisita, si Daniel Torres, ay tanda na po. Narito na unang bahagi sa kasaysayan ng ating panauhin, si Daniel Torres, dito pa rin sa ating dula, Isang Dipa Lang.
Ako po'y tubong Maynila. Sa kasalukuyan, 27 anyos at naninirahan sa Makiling Street, Mandaluyong, Metro Manila. Maliit lang ang aming pamilyang kinabibilangan. 2 lamang kaming magkapatid. 7 taon ang aming pagitan. Isang ulirang may bahay ang aming ina at responsableng ama naman ang aking ama. Nagtatrabaho siya bilang supervisor sa isang pabrika ng tela. Inaamin kong walang naging pagkukulang ang aking mga magulang. Kaya't maraming nagtataka kung bakit noon ako'y naging barumbado pa at masamang anak.
Nay, kain na tayo. Gutom na ako eh. Huwag na nating hintayin si Itay.
Sige, ikaw. Kung nagugutom ka na ba halika na, ipaghahain kita.
Opo. Aling Esther! Aling Esther! Parang
Si Bet.
yun ah.
Oo nga.
Nay, tingnan niyo sa bintana.
Oo.
Aling Esther!
Oh, Bet, bakit?
Ay, si Danielo. Ha? Naroon sa kanto at nakikipag-away na naman.
Ano?
Madali kayo, Aling Esther. Baka pumapano po siya.
Sige, Bet. Susunod na ako. Sige.
Nay!
Oh.
Bakit to po?
Ang Kuya Daniel mo din. Nakikipag-away na naman. Ay, dito ka lang ha. Pupuntahan ko lang ang Kuya Daniel mo.
Opo, Inay.
Ako, Diyos ko. Bakit ba nagkakaganito ng anak ko? Ay, naku, Diyos kong bata ka, oo. Bakit ba nakikipag-away ka na naman?
Saan naman ako na?
Aray. Kita mo ang
Kasi
nangyari
Kuya
sa'yo.
Daniel eh. Puro kaaway, ayan. Dumudugo ang kilay mo eh.
Kamakalam dito Dindin ha.
Oy, Daniel, ano ka ba? Kapatid mo yan?
Meron masyado eh. Loka ka ha. Mag-iingat ka sa akin.
Kuya!
Tumahimik ka. Lalo na kapag ganito mainit ang ulo ko.
Tama na. Ano ba?
Anak ninyo ako sermonan. Huwag nyo nang ituloy na eh. Painis lang ako eh. Pabayaan nyo na lang ako sa buhay na gusto ko.
Pero Daniel...
Alam ko ginagawa ako.
Daniel! Anak! Daniel!
Nay, hayaan niyo na siya. Mamaya magwala pa yun.
Dindin.
Pagdating ni Itay, susumbong ko siya.
Wag ka na magsumbong, ha? Wag.
Para mapagalitan siya ni Itay. Kasi, kinakaya-kaya kayo ni Kuya.
Dindin, mangako ka sa akin. Hindi ka magsusumbong sa itay mo.
Inay,
Mangako ka. Pag hindi ka nangako, ikaw ang tatamaan sa akin.
Isang Dipa Langit. We'll be back after this short break.
Hi! Kami ang Pabebe Girls at wala kayong pake kung nakikinig kami ng CFA Sound Tuner. Anyway.
Quotes to brighten your day.
When you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, implicitly and unquestionable. Ang bawat kabiguan sa buhay ay paraan para patuloy ka magpursigi kahit na sa tingin mo, naabot mo na ang lahat ng iyong mga pangarap.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
And now we're back to Isang Dipa Langit.
Wala akong ginawa noon kundi bumarkada, uminom, at madalas pa akong mapaaway. Hindi ko pansin ang mga pangaral ng aking mga magulang. 17 years old ako noon. Para sa akin, masaya ako sa mga ginagawa kong kalokohan.
Oh my God, ang yun. Okay ka talagang bangkara, pare.
Ikaw rin, Lester. Okay ka rin barkada, Pads.
Nahihayin kita kanina. Akala ko, tatanggi ka sa happenings. Kasi may klase ka, di ba?
Wisit na eskwela yan. Talaga yung pag-aaral. Nakakasira sa barkada.
Okay ka talaga, pare. Magkakasundo tayo.
Alam mo, Lester, gusto kong gusto kong ma-enjoy ang buhay ko. Gusto kong mag-enjoy na gusto. At gusto kong gawin ang anumang nais ko, ha? At walang makakapigil sa akin, Pads. Wala. Inom tayo ko rin.
Sige. Yan. Hindi pa tayo hinihintay.
Bakit to?
Saan ka galing?
Sa eskwela ako.
Hanggang anong oras ba ang klase mo? Palagay nang hanggang alas 9 ka. Hindi ka pa rin dapat umuwi ng ganitong oras. Mag-uumaga na.
Ngayon.
Daniel, bakit ganyan ka magsasagot sa itay mo?
Paano ba ako sumagot?
Tarantado ka talaga, no? Pinagpapasensyahan lang kita. Pero nakakita kong umaabuso ka na. Wala kang inatupag kundi bumarkada.
Tapos na kayo.
Daniel!
Gusto ko na matulog eh. Diyan na kayo.
Bastos ko! Pabayaan mo ko, Esther! Pabayaan mo ko!
Wag!
Tuturo ko ng leksyon ng tarantadong to. Ano? Bakit ganyan ka kumakatingin? Gusto mo ba lumaban? Sige! Lumaban ka! Lumaban ka!
Daniel, magpahinga ka na. Sige na.
Mag-iingat ka sa akin, ha? Pag napuno na ako, lulumpuin
Pero
ka!
tama na. Nakakahiya sa mga kapitbahay.
What?
Ito, ano pa? Bakit mo sinuntok pati ang dingding?
Sister, nagkulang ba ako? Masama ba akong ama?
Ito.
Bakit binigyan ako ng Diyos ng walang hiyang anak na tulad niya? Bakit?
Tama na. Magpahinga na tayo. Halika na.
Akala ko pa naman, mawawala ako. May maasahan ako sa ating pamilya. Ngunit ngayon, paano kung maasahan ng ganyang klaseng anak? O patawarin ako ng Diyos, Esther. Pero kung minsan tuloy, gusto ko na siyang itakwil.
Berto, wag.
Gusto ko na kalimutan siya ay aking anak.
Ano mang masasakit na salita ang marinig ko sa bibig ng aking mga magulang, baliwala sa akin. Madalas kong sabihin sa sarili kong sanay na ako doon. Hanggang minsan, nahuli nilang pinakamasamang bisyo ko.
Ay, naku, inay. Ang dumi-dumi ng kwarto ni Kuya Daniel. Kaya, ito, winawal ko.
Sinisipag ka yata ang hadindin.
Sabi kasi ni Itay, bibili niya ako ng walking short eh. Kaya, ito, masipag ako, Nay.
O, sige nga. Tingnan ko nga kung paano kang maglinis.
Ah. Yan.
Aba, malinis nga. O, itong mga kahon-kahon. Baka may daga at ipis na sa loob. Nilinis mo din ba ito?
Hindi ho.
Oy, bakit hindi? Oh, tingnan mo, oh. Ang daming basura. Parang, ano ito?
Ay, Nay.
Ano to, ha?
Yan, sigarilyo ba yan?
Hindi ito sigarilyo. Marijuana ito. Marijuana.
Ay?
Si Daniel? Gumagamit ng marijuana? Diyos ko, hindi totoo ito. Hindi.
Okay ang luto nyo na yan. Ang sarap. Ginalahan tuloy akong kumain eh.
Daniel.
Nay, ano naman ang drama yan? Kailan lang kumakain, pambira.
Bakit nagawa mo ito, anak? Bakit?
Nay, ano ba naman ang yan? Drama na naman. Pambira akong puwisit na. No?
Ano ang ibig sabihin itong marijuana ito?
Nay? Saan nyo kinuha yan? Akin mo yan!
Daniel.
Huwag niyo pakikialaman ito kung ayaw ninyo magkagulo tayo.
Adik ka na. Gumagamit ka na ng drugs.
Nay!
Bakit? Bakit, ha? Gusto mo nang wasakin ang buhay mo? Gusto mo nang mamatay?
Gusto ko mag-enjoy sa buhay ko, Nay.
Mag-enjoy? Sa paggamit mo ng drugs? Abay, minamadali mo ang buhay mo niyan, Daniel!
Pabayaan lang ninyo sabi ko eh. Kung madali man ang buhay ko, wala na kayong pakialam. Di ba yun naman ang gusto ninyo? O mawala na ako? Kaya pabayaan lang ninyo ako.
Bakit? Ano naman ang nangyayari dito?
Berto, kanina ka pa ba?
Kararating ko lang. Narinig kong nagtataas na naman ang boses ng impacto nito eh. Bakit ba?
Wala, Berto. Sige na, Daniel. Magpahinga ka na. May pasok ka pa sa eskwela bukas.
Anong pasok ang pinagsasabi mo dyan? Hindi na pumapasok sa eskwela yung anak mo.
Ano?
Nag-drop na yan ng kanyang mga subjects. Pati tayo pinagloloko.
Daniel, totoo ba ni?
Saan gagawin talaga yung anak mo eh? Tignan mo. Ayan. Pag wala nang naisasagot, binibirhin niya tayo ng talikod, Esther. Alam mo ba, nagkita kami ni Beth, yung ka-eskwela ni Daniel, sa 2 subjects. At siya nagsabi sa akin, hindi na pumapasok yung anak mo.
Ha? Anong gagawin natin ngayon, Berto?
Tuturuan ko ng leksyon ng anak mo, Esther. Kahit anong paraan, tuturuan ko siya.
Pinagtakpan ako ng inay ko sa aking ama. Hindi niya sinabing nagdadamo ako o nagmamariwana. Natuklasan din nilang hindi na ako pumapasok sa eskwela. At mula noon, Nay, pengin pera mo. Lalabas lang kami ng barkada ko.
Walang pera.
Nakialam ka na naman eh.
Kuya, talaga naman walang pera eh. Yun ang bilin ni Itay. Huwag kang bigyan ng pera para hindi ka makalakwatsa. Para hindi ka raw makapagbisyo.
Oh,
Makaintindi nito.
ikuha mo nga ako ng tubig sa kusina.
Opo, inay.
Inay, totoo ba sinabi ni Dindi na...
Oo. Ayaw kong pabigyan ng pera ng itay mo.
Ho?
Dahil hindi ka na naman daw pumapasok. Para daw wala kang magamit sa kalokohan mo.
Ganun ah.
Daniel, anak, bibigyan kita ng pera. Pero, ipangako mong hindi ka maglalasing at hindi ka bibili ng drugs.
Sabihin niyo sa kanya, Inay, kahit hindi niya ako bigyan ng pera, kaya kong dumilahin siya. Kaya huwag niya akong pagmamalakihan.
Daniel, aalis ka. Oh, etong pera para...
Hindi ko kailangan yan.
Nay, ito na po ang tubig niyo.
Salamat din.
Ay, Nay, bakit may hawak kayong pera? Siguro, binigyan niyo si Kuya ng pera, no?
Din, pwede pa. Huwag kang masyadong madaldal, ha?
Opo, Nay. Kuya? Kuya, kakain na, sabi ni Inay. Kuya? 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 Bakit? Nay! Nay! Nay, si Kuya Daniel! Nay! Si Kuya Daniel!
Bakit, Din? Ano nangyari sa kuya mo?
Nanginginig siya, Inay. Naroon sa kwarto.
Diyos ko! Daniel? Daniel?
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Anak?
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Anak, kuya.
Tulungan ninyo ako.
Unang bahagi pa lamang ng pagsasalaysay sa atin ni Daniel Torres na ating piling-piling panauhin para sa loob ng 3 araw dito sa ating dula. Sana po kahit papano ay naibigan ninyo ang aming pagtatanghal at natitiyak ko sa inyong sa susunod na 2 araw ay higit na maiinit na mga tagpo ang inyong masusubaybayan dito sa ating pagsasadula. Hanggang sa muli, sa ngalan ng lahat ng mga radio drama talents na gumaganap sa dulang ito po ang inyong kaibigan sa Himpapawid, Julie Fe Navarro. Nagpapasalamat sa inyong walang sawang pagtangkilik at sana nariyan pa rin kayo sa aming pagbabalik dito sa Himpapawid. Hanggang sa muli, salamat po.
Isang lipa, langit.
You're listening to CFA Sang Tuner.
Continue to make your day stronger by taking a capsule of your daily gospel.
The Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. While Jesus was speaking, a woman from the crowd called out and said to him, "Blessed is the womb that carried you and the breasts at which you nursed." He replied, "Rather, blessed are those who hear the word of God and observe it." Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Phil Pelengon, MSc.
Well, today is Friday, and perhaps we say, thank God it's Friday, because we look forward to the weekend. But the Gospel of today speaks about, when a house is divided in itself, then it breaks down. The occasion when Jesus said this is that he was driving the devil out of the man, the demon out of the man, was possessed by the demon. And what he was accused of is that he was doing this to the power of Beelzebub. So Jesus said to him, now, if I drove this evil spirit or this demon from the man through the power of Beelzebub, then it cannot be, because if the house is divided into two, then it will never stand, isn't it? So the strength of the house is in unity. The strength of the family is in unity. And what is that unity? Unity is an expression of love. No? What unites people together? It's love. No? So if everybody in the family are not communicating to one another, and the world of today is like that. The modern world is really obsessed with the modern technology. Each one has his own computer, each one has his own tablet, each one has his own cell phone. So what happens to that? Communication is not very strong. So if there is a breakdown in communication, there's a breakdown in relationship, isn't it? It's almost like to compare itself that when a house is divided into two, then it will never be strong. It will break down, it will break into pieces. And so perhaps this is what we should really try to look at in our families, in our relationship, not only in families. It can extend this to the community, it can be extended to the country. But first of all, the family. We say, not because they are, divided in the sense like Beelzebub against another Beelzebub, but because what they suspected that Jesus was driving this, but it says Jesus is God and he has the power of God to drive demons now. And yet he was being accused that he was driving this to the power of Beelzebub. In other words, it is the evil that is it. But in other words, what I'm trying to say here, when I talk about the family that is divided, and what divides the family? When you say that there is no unity in the family, it is that there is no communication within the family. Now, if the wife is doing something and the husband is doing something else, and they never meet, they never talk together, then there is no unity in that. So what is important here is communication. Jesus' power is really exercised to drive somebody, because it has made this person not whole, but the person is sort of divided. Now, he is not himself. So I think what our reflection today is really to think about what divides us, what divides the family. So in many families, as I said, you can see what modern techniques is all about. The family would say, let's go out, let's go bonding, to bond. So they go out, they go to a restaurant, or they go somewhere else. The food is served at table, they all sit down. And it's supposed to be that the purpose is to bond, to have bonding. And then they take out their own computer, their own tablet. One takes out their own tablet. And so they don't talk to each other. They don't communicate to each other. So they don't express to each other what their sentiments, what their feelings are. In other words, to be connected with each other. So what happens? They're each one on his own. Do you think that family will really, perhaps you will say superficially there, but really in terms of communication, it's not, the unity is not there. Even perhaps they carry this also in the house. When the house is the same thing. When they come home, the son will go to his room, the daughter will go to her own room, and the parents, perhaps the mother will go to the kitchen, the father will go to his own workshop and start doing. So when do they meet and talk? They express their sentiments to each other. So I think this is very important, that perhaps the factor that divides us is supposed to be an instrument of communication, becomes an instrument of division. So I think we have to examine that. We have to look at that. So also when you extend it to the community, is it easy for us to bring the community together to discuss things? Dialogue? What we are trying to promote in this world is a dialogue. A house divided in itself will fall, as Jesus is saying. So the church community divided in itself, it will fall. So that's what happened, the breaking of communities, the breaking. So that is what we're trying to build up. That there's supposed to be a common thing that we have to bring up. The Pope is trying to tell us, we have a common home. What is our common home? The earth. And what are we trying to do with this earth? Each one is trying to take something out of this earth for himself. The capitalist will have their mines, minings and all of that, in order to get profit, to get something out of that. So what happens? The earth is destroyed because each one tried to get something for himself. Instead of building this home of ours, common home of ours, by building it up to make it strong. And now we are trying to communicate to each other. How can we therefore make this earth, our Mother Earth, a strong one? Which we try to say, this will be a legacy to the future generation. So I think this is an application of a house divided in itself. So there are many factors that can divide a house. There are many factors that can divide a society. There are many factors that can divide a country. Ideology is one. So we never can agree. We can never be united. So I think the lesson for us is what Jesus is trying to tell us. Unless we unite and communicate and dialogue with one another, we can only understand each other when we dialogue. We can only see what the other needs when we dialogue. We can only see what the other does not like when we dialogue. So I think dialogue is very important in the family. Dialogue is very important in the community. Dialogue is very important in the country. Dialogue is very important in the whole world of today. So our Lord is trying to tell us, this is a lesson. Perhaps, that only when the house is united will the house prosper. And the church that is united, that's just a church that will prosper. The church will be strong, as Jesus wanted it to be. It is founded on rock, and the rock should not be broken into pieces by our lack of communication, by our lack of dialogue. So I think the message of the day I would like to share with you in this reflection is, let our family be united. Let not the modern technology or the modern instruments divide the community, but let it unite the community, the family, the community, and the country and the world. This is Father Phil Pilingon, again, Missionary of Sacred Heart, and I hope that this sharing, though it's not deep enough perhaps, will be able to make us reflect what life is all about. That life is built on love, that a life is a life of communication, a life of dialogue, and a life that is connected with God, a communication with God through Jesus Christ, His Son. God bless.
This has been your daily gospel, your capsule of inspiration, hope, and faith.
Sanctuary?
And we are about to hear a story from the website Moral Stories. The Little Mouse. Once upon a time, there was a baby mouse and mother mouse. They lived in a hole in the skirting board in a big warm house with lots of cheese to eat, where they wanted for nothing. Then, one day, Mother Mouse decided to take Baby Mouse outside of their home. Waiting outside for them was a huge ginger thorncut, licking its lips and waiting to eat them both up. "Mother, Mother, what should we do?" cried Baby Mouse, clinging to his mother's tail. Mother Mouse paused, staring up into the beady eyes of the hungry cat. But she wasn't scared, because she knew exactly how to deal with big, scary cats. She opened her mouth and took in a deep breath. She shouted, and the cat ran away as fast as he could. "Wow, Mother, that was amazing," Baby Mouse said to his mother, smiling happily. And that, my child, is why it is always best to have a second language. Moral: it's always good to have a second language.
we would like to acknowledge moralstories.org for the lessons we learned and shared today. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We hope that you grow as a person by listening to us. Just remember that everywhere you go, your worst with God is better than your best without Him. This has been Sam Tuner, Communication Foundation for Asia's official podcast. We hope and pray that you tune in with us the next day. Once more, this is CFA Sam Tuner, your Dreamcasting Songs.